10 years ago, the supercomputer Titan warned that a black meteor would destroy Lam-Tin on 11/11. The whole world immediately fell into panic. The military got involved. People closed their doors and prayed. But year after year, the prophecy turned out to be a false alarm. Humanity gradually lost faith. Until the 10th year on the fateful day the meteor really fell, but it wasn't the apocalypse as expected. It was the beginning of an immortal game system. As soon as it appeared, it turned all humans into NPCs. They were forced to kill monsters and level up to survive. The weak would be erased from the game, or worse, turned into zombies. The story begins in the office of a company in a high-rise building. The people up here showed unusual signs. They were like the demons the church killed, seeking the living to bite and tear apart. The room echoed with screams and curses. A girl ran desperately to save herself. She was probably one of the few survivors who hadn't turned into a zombie. While running, the woman shouted, "Go away! Don't chase me anymore!" At this moment, only speed could save the future. The girl pushed herself to run as fast as she could toward the door. "I still have to see my parents. I can't die here. Just hiding in that warehouse will be safe." Clinging to hope, she ran into the nearest room to avoid the threat. But when she opened the door, the poor woman was horrified. A man inside was being slaughtered by his own colleague. He was being eaten on the spot. Blood was splattered all over the floor. Even worse, the man wasn't dead yet. He still reached out, trying to desperately scream to the girl. Lohan ran away while the zombie behind was still enjoying his fresh flesh. This scene really made Lohan unable to stand. She fell hard to the floor, trembling all over, speechless. Now, after enjoying a delicious meal, the zombie stood up straight. Its next target was definitely this beauty. She kept losing her composure, terrified. "Someone, please save me." Immediately after this, dark and ugly zombie with a strange aura of demonic energy all over its body flew up like the wind, aiming its sharp iron claws at the girl. By then, running was too late. The woman collapsed and weakly tried to resist. In her heart, she kept chanting Buddha's name, "Namo Amitabha." "Buddha, can someone save me?" At that moment, strong footsteps rushed in the figure of a tall, muscular, and very grim young man. He held a large sword and flew in to attack the monster. The zombie was still trying to grab the girl's pure white breasts. The sword slashed down, splitting the zombie in two. The young man looked handsome and graceful as he swung the sword down. He successfully saved the girl from a life-or-death situation. Noticeably, he looked very ordinary, but a strange energy emitted from his eyes. "Is he a superhuman?" The system announced, "Defeated level 1 zombie gain 10 points." Just when she was about to die and join the ancestors, someone suddenly helped Lohan. She immediately felt the connection with this man and kept looking up at him. It seemed like they knew each other. Lohan looked up and whispered, "Even though I'm scared to death, Van Koy." He turned and looked at the girl in front of him for a long time without saying a word. Behind them was another one. It crazily charged forward to snatch its prey. Meanwhile, the girl still didn't realize what was happening, just feeling happy she was saved. No way this zombie is going to eat Lohan first. Van Koy swung his sword fiercely and charged in to finish it quickly. He was cold and decisive. Van Koy swiftly split the zombie's body in two. It hadn't even touched a single hair on the girl. Red blood sprayed wildly, splashing onto her golden hair. The system announced, "Defeated level 1 zombie gained 10 points." After rescuing the girl twice, Van Koy spoke coldly but acted very warmly. He used his hand to pull Lohan up and said, "What are you standing there for? Run." After losing a basket of eggs, Lohan stared at the young man for a long time, hesitating and unsure what to say in this bizarre situation. But in that office, zombies were frantically biting and attacking the survivors. They were terrifying, not only eating flesh, but turning the dead into zombies like themselves. Run away. Lohan still seemed unable to believe this day had come. Van Koy. "I can't believe the apocalypse has really arrived. Or am I dreaming?" she replied innocently and pitifully. Van Koy turned his face with a cold attitude and said, "I want to know if this is a dream too." He is Van Koy, 21 years old, the young master of the Van family in Trungdo. 10 minutes ago, he was just a rich kid disguised as an office worker. Now he had to outsmart zombies. Back to the peaceful office before the apocalypse. Van Koy carried a designer briefcase, walking through the office like a director. He was dressed head to toe in expensive designer clothes with an air that clearly wasn't ordinary. The aura of wealth was still there. At that moment, a familiar voice called out. This girl was the victim Van Koy had just saved. 10 minutes ago, she was also very beautiful, just like any other day. Maybe she had noticed Van Koy earlier, so she came closer to start a conversation. "Hello," she said. Van Coy? Are you working overtime tonight? Today's the apocalypse according to the prophecy. I'm scared. Can you give me a ride home? Sure. At this moment, Van Coy didn't care about all those silly rumors. That's just his cold outside, warm inside personality responding naturally. Manhwa the apocalypse prophecy is already 15 years old. Why be scared? Even elementary school kids don't believe it anymore. Van Coy said this, and the girl burst out laughing, a little shy. Haha, is that so? Then he turned and asked again, but are you really scared? Just as Van Coy seemed to want to continue talking, the girl got excited. Oh yes, I'm very scared. She seemed more interested in Van Coy than afraid of the apocalypse. Now in her heart she started feeling thrilled and a bit self-adoring. Haha, I knew it, no one can resist your charm. She saw right through his plan to flirt. Van Coy got clever to attract the attention of the other office workers. Office goddess afraid of the apocalypse. Someone take the goddess home after work. This made many people look up. But the least happy person was the company's goddess Lo Han. What the company's only beauty voluntarily spoke up. Yet Mr. Van Coy was not polite at all. He just passed the responsibility to the guys who were eager to flatter the beauty. They immediately rushed over, willing to drive her home. I can. Lohan. I'm in the same boat as you, let me take you home. Or pick me. This made Lohan embarrassed to the point of tears. She didn't know how to behave properly in this moment. Overall, she was pretty pitiful. Her mind was a mess as she cursed Van Coy. Van Coy, you stubborn straight man. Serves you right for having no girlfriend. Now he calmly sat back at his desk, not worrying whether he'd drive a girl home this afternoon. He slowly opened his briefcase and whispered, "The apocalypse, huh?" Van Coy smiled lightly. It seemed he found the girl somewhat interesting, but with his personality it was either yes or no. Stubborn as a mule, he thought. A good excuse indeed. But Van Coy didn't have time to worry about the apocalypse. This was what mattered most to him. Inside the briefcase Van Coy opened now was a sword. The sword he had used to fight zombies just 10 minutes ago. A colleague getting coffee nearby saw Van Coy focusing on the sword on the desk. He turned around with a mocking smile and asked with concern, Van Coy is into models again. He's already in his 20s and still likes childish things. These words really made Van Coy uncomfortable, he muttered. Models, not paying attention to his colleague. Van Coy held a piece of paper. It had Little Coy written on it. This sword is made from the hardest titanium alloy in the world. Cuts through gold like cutting vegetables. Keep it for self-defense. Signed by Von. After reading these lines, he thought for a long time and kept wondering. It's not a toy, but a grade 3 weapon banned for civilians to possess. How did she transport this thing? He kept staring at the paper in his hand while in front of him was the banned weapon. Instead of focusing on it, Van Coy only cared about the person who wrote to him for 3 years without coming home. When will she finally come back? As he thought this, Van Coy flipped through the letter repeatedly. He was also shocked to realize it had been 3 years, because she didn't want to live by the rules. Van Coy left Trungdo and moved to Zone 105 to live independently. It's time to end this irresponsible escape. He's been away from home for too long. Van Coy seems to want to go back to see his family. He whispered to himself, after getting paid tomorrow, I'll go home. The room was perfectly normal until suddenly the power system failed, causing everyone inside to panic. But not only that, everywhere in the room people could hear terrifying screams and roars. Suddenly something strange happened in the office. Van Coy stood up and looked cautiously around. At this moment, he still didn't know a disaster was about to happen. It seemed like the sky was stained with blood. The lights shining down on the building turned the whole place red. Everyone started going outside to the glass door to see the strange phenomenon. Van Coy was extremely shocked when he saw with his own eyes a huge star. The whole sky seemed to collapse. So today, the apocalypse has come. A giant star was gradually flying toward Earth, and everyone could see it with the naked eye. People inside the office were in a state of panic. Could this be the black titanium meteor? Why didn't the government issue any alarm? Damn it, don't hit Lam Tin. Boss, I'm quitting. I want to go home. All around the globe, alarm noises could be heard by everyone. Humans of Lam Tin, welcome to the global apocalypse game. From this moment on, you lose your human identity and become monsters and NPCs in the game. The first 24 hours are the startup phase. Accumulate points and level up from NPCs. The higher the level, the greater the power later. After 24 hours, players enter the game. You cannot kill players, but they can really kill you. Be careful, because death in the game is real death. Hearing this, our protagonist had to rack his brain, not yet used to this crappy game, dropped from the sky, forcing humanity to follow the rules set by mysterious forces. He wondered if everyone becomes monsters and NPCs, then who are the players? The Apocalypse system announcement continued adjusting the global communication mode completed. The game channel has been activated. Turn off all old communication methods. Please choose your profession within 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, the game will officially begin. Right before everyone, a system interface appeared. Each person has their own system to develop and fight in the game imposed by the Apocalypse. Even the male lead Von Koy has one. It displays his detailed information. Name Von Koy. NPC position New Village. Level 1. Accumulate 2 main attribute points and 2 free sub-attribute points per level. Every 10 levels, main attributes increase by 10% of current points. Below level 200 is NPC. You can only level up by accumulating points. Current 10 attributes. Combat power increases physical damage. Agility increases speed. Spirit increases magic power. Constitution increases defense. Compatibility 10%. Profession not chosen. Personal talent not yet acquired. No professional skills yet. No current skills yet. Just finished reading the detailed personal information. Van Koy was also amazed and felt it was familiar. This interface looks exactly like the VL game. The system board shows the career choice. Below, there is a Next button. Van Koy clicked on the Next option. He thought if this is really the Apocalypse, choosing a career with high strength stats would make survival easier. Immediately, cards showing many career lists appeared in front of him. List 1-2, a warrior. Main stat strength, secondary stat constitution. Effect 5% activation chance for blood greed increases. 5% strength. 15% attack speed lasts 10 seconds. 2 mages. Main stat spirit, secondary stat constitution. Effect increases by 15% casting speed triple. Knight. Main stat constitution, secondary stat strength. Effect when Constitution is the highest stat, add 20% Constitution, ignore 50% weight. Reading here, Van Koy immediately paid attention to the third card, the Knight. Ah, seems strong, he thought. Van Koy then looked back at the sword on the table. He touched it and calculated that if he chose Knight or Warrior, this sword would be very useful right now. When his hand touched the sword at the hilt, it suddenly shone brightly. The system displayed a notification. Special notice system detected abnormal energy. Congratulations on receiving the unique SSS-Rank career Knight of the Underworld. A strong light emitted from the system. Van Koy was too surprised because this was the first time he saw such a phenomenon. He was stunned and exclaimed, SSS custom career already. Immediately, the image of the knight he chose appeared on the screen. Its eye also lit up. The system again announced Knight of the Underworld. Main stats Constitution, Strength, Spirit. Secondary stat Agility. Below clearly showed more information about the profession decay and death level 1 passive. Every strike imposes a death mark, reducing healing effect by 10%. When death occurs, reduce 1 level. When the target is below level, it does not erase permanently, even if the player levels up. Each level increases effect by 10%. After reading everything from top to bottom, Van Koy looked up, sensing something a bit too much. Death mark means if strong enough, we can even kill other players. Is this a game bug? Next notification. Congratulations on awakening the universe's child talent. Effect increases tenfold. 3. Non-combat stats, if changed permanently, multiply by 100 times. Cooldown 24 hours. Then carefully read from top to bottom. At this moment, Van Koy's mood was completely overwhelmed. This was the first time he encountered something like this. Another surprise. This newbie benefit is too strong, it's like hacking the game. Van Koy was like a tiger growing wings. The system on the entire server started a 5-second countdown before the game started. Many people weren't ready yet. They kept worrying and feeling uneasy why they weren't chosen a career. System bug 2 unfair. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Apocalypse game begins. Chaotic scenes everywhere with people shouting and screaming. What's wrong? Don't scare me. Those who hadn't chosen a profession began to mutate. They turned into bloodthirsty zombies. A girl standing nearby was completely terrified witnessing these people suddenly mutate. Hey, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. 2 people just standing near her suddenly jumped and grabbed the girl. She fell and hit her head on the ground. Ah. Right after the zombie bit her neck to pieces. Blood splattered all over its face. Her screams echoed throughout the room. Immediately, the zombies here also pinned down weak women and attacked. The whole room was chaotic. People ran for their lives. Right after being bitten on the neck, those attacked mutated and became disgusting zombies exactly like that. And these creatures were very bloodthirsty, searching for human scent to bite and tear apart. Van Koy also witnessed all these events. He was lucky not to turn into a zombie. At this moment, a zombie was rushing to attack the girl from before. She had completely lost her humanity and acted like a wild beast. The zombie's target was a very fresh young man. He hurriedly pulled down his underwear, trying to save his life. Terrified, he looked back. At that moment, Van Koy tightly gripped his sword and rushed out to block the zombie. It jumped up, lost momentum, and bit straight into the sword. Van Koy held on firmly. At this time, he wanted to rescue the man who was still facing the dangerous zombie. Van Koy was truly fearless and very different from everyone else. He said, "Run, don't let them bite you, this way." The man was trembling, stammering, unable to speak. The zombie went crazy. Its mouth bit the sharp blade. In its pitch-black eyes, a horrifying glint appeared. Just like that, the story returned to the beginning. Van Koy met Lohan, and together they ran out of the office. Lohan ran ahead and loudly called directions for him. Van Koy was on this side when suddenly both encountered an old abnormality, so they slowed down. Lohan slowly looked at the man in the suit hiding behind the wall. Then she got scared, unsure if it was a person or a ghost. She turned around nervously and said to Van Koy, "There's a noise up ahead immediately." He gripped his sword and charged to take out the figure hiding behind the wall. Die monster. Suddenly, the man stuck his head out. He saw Van Koy holding the sword moving to attack and was startled. Then scared, he knelt down and stayed down. "Van Koy, don't kill me, I'm someone you might know." Van Koy quickly stopped. Luckily, he hadn't swung down or that guy would have been dead. Van Koy vaguely realized it was Lu Duong. Why was Lu Duong so happy, almost in tears? He looked up at Van Koy and smiled, unable to cry or laugh properly. Then the two just passed by the man named Lu Duong like that. Van Koy held his sword and went another way, telling him not to appear suddenly next time. Lu Duong still sat there, still stunned. Suddenly, this guy acted up again, turning around and shouting loudly, "Van Koy, did you abandon your teammate? You saw me in trouble and didn't help. Are you even a person?" It seemed these two didn't like each other from before. Van Koy heard these unpleasant words from Lu Duong, glared and coldly said, "Whether I am a person or not is clear. And the one who stole my ideas 3 times and caused 3 female abnormalities to have abortions is definitely not human." Being exposed by Van Koy right in front of a pretty girl and in a desperate situation, he didn't want to be saved. His face turning purple with anger. He clenched his teeth and shouted angrily, "What did you say?" Ignoring this crazy troublemaker, Van Koy grabbed Lohan's hand and left confidently, saying, "Let's go." So the two left quickly without looking back, leaving Lu Duong behind. He shouted behind them, "Wait! I'm also a knight of the group of 3, it'll be safer." Lohan noticed Lu Duong's words, felt a bit worried and scared, and tried to warn Van Koy. "Van Koy, did you hear? He's very strong." But Van Koy's will was not ordinary. Van Koy casually glanced at Lu Duong with a look of complete disdain. No matter how strong your profession is, it can't make up for a rotten nature. Just hearing that seemed to hurt Lu Duong's pride, and he started to show his nasty side. His hand stealthily grabbed a nearby mop, then suddenly he raised it to strike Van Koy from behind. He shouted from his damn mouth at the sugarcane bush, "How dare you look down on me?" Lohan saw the sneaky attack on Van Koy and tugged his arm to warn him to be careful. Yes, Van Koy was also quick. Although he was an office worker, his strength was very strong. Van Koy pulled the sword back hard, turned around and stabbed the hilt straight into the chest of the rude Lu Duong. He vomited right there, eyes rolled back, mouth gurgling, saliva dripping onto the floor. At the same time, right behind Lu Duong, a zombie was approaching. He still didn't realize the zombie appeared, still painfully clutching his chest with difficulty, demanding, "Give me that sword!" But when he turned back to face Liu Yang, it was a zombie, its mouth wide open, ravenous for human flesh. He couldn't speak, "Help save me." Despite the filthy and sneaky guy Van Koy, and Lohan just left, and he said as he turned, "Let's go." Lohan is a girl, so she felt a bit reluctant and guilty asking Van Koy, "Are we really going to leave him behind?" Right behind them, Liu Yang was grabbed and attacked by a zombie. It bit him and screamed so loudly the whole building could hear. At this moment, Van Koy suddenly stopped, stood in front of Lohan, and slowly said to make her think clearly, "The situation has changed." Lohan dropped the martyr mindset look clearly. Van Koy turned back, his face serious, gritting his teeth as he said to innocent Lohan, "This is the apocalypse." Outside, the planet was crashing into the ruined Lam Tin, becoming more and more obvious. Explosions and bombings were happening all over the city, accompanied by chain accidents. The people had completely turned into zombies. It was very hard to find anyone who survived this. Inside the hallway, Van Koy held his sword and stood in front of Lohan seriously and urgently advising her, "If you keep being naive like before, you'll just become a disposable pawn." Then he clarified the situation. "There are way too many zombies now." Lohan was now both scared and unsure what to do. For an ordinary girl like her, the apocalypse came too suddenly. She didn't know what else to do but listen to Van Koy. He went ahead and she followed behind. Van Koy said, "Let's find a safe place first." The two of them went to the end of the hallway. Suddenly, behind a door, a woman was cautiously opening it and looking out. She seemed familiar with Lohan. This girl called out to Lohan, "Hey!" Lohan saw her short-haired colleague happily open the door upon seeing her. The girl was overjoyed as if they hadn't met for a month. Lohan called out loudly, "Get out!" Outside the glass door, many zombies were ravenous for human flesh. They were clawing and trying hard to break the glass. So Van Koy, Lohan, and Gia went inside a room to hide from the zombies outside the door barricaded with many objects. Van Koy glanced around for a while, thinking, "Are there only 7 survivors left in the whole company?" Just after meeting Gia, the three had a tough time getting to a high-end meeting room. Inside, the last survivors could see the outside scene. Everything was ruined and nowhere was safe anymore. Gia sat frightened, crouched under a table. She cried and said, "Why has the world become like this? I want to go home, boo-hoo." Everyone was very confused and scared at this moment. The short-haired girl next to her saw her emotional state and said, "Surviving now is the most important thing." The young man nearby comforted, "As long as the zombies don't break in, we're lucky enough." Suddenly, the man at the table slammed his hand down hard. He vented all his anger at Gia. It's all Gia's fault for opening the door to these people. Food was already scarce, and now zombies surround the door. This irritating fat guy is Cao Khan, the company manager. Even though the apocalypse had come, he still kept his arrogant managerial attitude, blaming his subordinates and shouting, "Damn it, if you want to die, die outside. Why drag others down? Over here!" The man saw the manager's extreme attitude and raised his strong body, speaking loudly. "What do you mean? This man is named Trio Nien Van Koy." Looking at him, Trao Mei recalled the moment zombies chased them and whispered, "This Trio Nien just followed me in here and brought the zombies with him." The big-faced manager pointed at the tall, muscular Trio Nien and continued shouting, "Am I wrong? If you guys hadn't led the zombies here, we wouldn't be trapped like this. Plus, everyone's covered in blood. Who knows if they're infected with the virus? Better to die outside." The fat guy couldn't stand the manager's harsh words, and Trio Nien wasn't one to back down either. He stomped boldly toward Cao Khan as if ready to beat him up, cursing, "Damn you!" Immediately after both hands grabbed the manager by the collar, he shouted loudly in that face, "Tao Khan, I've been putting up with you for a long time. Managing and you think you're the boss." This Tao Khan had already come here and still refused to give up. He kept opening his mouth. "Trio Nien, what are you saying? Watch out or I'll fire you. This isn't a company anymore." So Trio Nien's patience was no longer necessary. He shouted directly into the manager's face like he had never treated him that way before. "Wake up. This is the apocalypse now. I said I'm a monster, so I'll really become a monster for you to see." Hearing the terrifying threats from Trio Nien, the big-faced Tao Khan was stunned and started to feel fear, unable to speak. "What do you want to do?" "Stop." The burly man's actions were very fast. In a flash, the glass door shattered. Unable to control his anger, he pushed the manager, forcefully throwing him through the glass door and lifting him up from the high floor. That large body dangled on the building. He was sweating cold sweat all over. "Are you crazy? This is the 17th floor." But behind Van Koy held a sword and slowly approached. Tao Khan continuously begged Trio Nien for a chance, pleading, "Please don't kill me." But he had endured too much and became crazier and more beast-like. "Go to hell." Right behind, Lohan suddenly reached out and said, "Wait." Trio Nien glanced over, noticing the man's face was still very angry. Now Lohan slowly spoke, "Trio Nien, don't be hasty. I chose the profession of a mage with the gift of holy light that can disinfect wounds. I can help you treat him so no one turns into a monster." Hearing Lohan foolishly reveal everything, Van Koy clenched his teeth, regretting not being able to shut her up. Annoyed inside, damn it. She exposed the most dangerous information coming from those around. Everyone was wary of each other, and her actions would only bring disaster. The burly man named Trio Nien, upon hearing Lohan could heal him, immediately turned his head and asked if she was a mage. So Lohan slowly walked over and explained more clearly to him. "Yes, So don't worry about virus infection. We can prevent bad things from happening, maybe even change fate. He looked at her intently while still holding the fat guy. The fat guy, seeing Lohan's intention to save him, also added, Trio Nien, she can heal you, go find her. After hearing this, Trio Nien smiled mysteriously, the corner of his mouth lifting in a terrifying way. Sure enough, right after he let go, letting the fat manager fall from the high floor, completely turning his back and showing no mercy. The manager thought he was about to get a chance, but now the chance was void forever. Then Duong showed his veiny, excited face and said, it's time to change fate. Now the fat guy, Tao Hu Khan, fell freely from the 17th floor to the ground, experiencing horror before death, his screams echoing. Lohan witnessed this scene and couldn't believe Trio Nien could be so cruel. She had clearly tried her best to save the manager. Even Van Khoi couldn't do anything. He stood watching the tragedy unfold before his eyes. The screams could be heard clearly from the 17th floor down to the floor below. Tao Hu Khan's blood flew up, turning deep red. Lohan's face turned pale with fear. She had tried very hard and revealed the truth about her profession, but the worst had still happened. Why, at a moment when survivors should rely on each other, did Trio Nien begin to show a beastly face? He thought he was the biggest and strongest among the group, and laughed scornfully. Why else? I just can't stand this fat guy. Lohan, being kind-hearted, retorted with a very serious and hateful expression toward the arrogant, unreasonable man in front of her. Is that all? That's a human life. It seemed he had awakened to his karma. Hearing this only hit him harder. His hand clenched and his voice like a wild beast. A human life. Then right where he stood, Trio Nien seemed to go mad, releasing a powerful lightning aura all over his body. He screamed in the room, it's just a stepping stone for me. This warrior profession really suits me. With power not only to survive, but also to rule the world. You can tell he is Trio Nien, a level 1 warrior. No wonder he's so arrogant, only level 1, but claiming to rule. So damn funny. Van Khoi stood there, looking at the attitude, and got pissed off. He rolled his eyes in disgust and thought silently. In the apocalypse, there are no laws. The horror of human nature goes far beyond imagination. At this moment, the guy named Trio Nien took the opportunity to attack his body covered in veins and bursting with energy as he turned to strike Lohan. Ha ha ha! Lohan, come be my woman from now on. The girl was so scared she quickly stepped back. Just as Trio Nien got close to Lohan, a familiar figure flew in and pushed her away. Meanwhile, Lohan still couldn't stand steadily. No, 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 Van Khoi immediately rushed over, using his sword to deliver a powerful strike to Trio Nien's head. He immediately fell back to dodge, clearly shocked, because he didn't know where Van Khoi had come from. That was a close call. He then suspected Van Khoi had some connection with Lohan, his eyes flashing as he glanced back and forth, saying, "Oh, you like her too?" Van Khoi, sword in hand, started stepping back in front of Trio Nien, smoothly replying coldly, "Correction, but I'm only interested in her skills." At the same time, behind Lohan, she cooperated fully. She immediately used her healing ability to support Van Khoi. In the apocalypse, no one is sure they won't get hurt. Having a mage to detox is great. That bastard Trio Nien knew he couldn't compete with Van Khoi. He grabbed a nearby fire extinguisher, shouting loudly, "Dare to steal from me, do you want to die?" Then he yanked the fire extinguisher hard, scowling, using it as a weapon for a one-on-one fight. At this moment, he was like a wild beast, muscles bulging all over. Right then, the tall, burly Trio Nien used his body and incredible jumping power, gripping the fire extinguisher tightly to slam hard into Van Khoi's head. He shouted loudly, "You'll be the first step on my path to domination." Instantly, the large fire extinguisher struck Van Khoi. He immediately raised his sword to block. Trio Nien poured all his strength into the strike. Holding the fire extinguisher tightly, Van Khoi gritted his teeth. He was trying to resist, but unexpectedly, Trio Nien had a wound on his side that was worsening. Van Khoi realized the weak point was poisoning. Trio Nien had been transformed. Looking at the increasingly distorted face getting worse, Trio Nien's mouth laughed loudly, drooling profusely. Van Khoi thought he was still able to speak just moments ago. Could it be that mutation speed depends on physical condition? He furrowed his brow, looking at Trio Nien, beginning to grasp the situation. A mutated soldier's physique is far more dangerous than a normal zombie. Taking advantage of the moment before Trio Nien fully unleashed his zombie power, Van Khoi struck hard at the big guy's chest. He was thrown back. Then, with both hands gripping his sword firmly, Van Khoi channeled his energy into his sword and leapt up to deliver a memorable strike to the tall guy. He told himself he had to destroy this ticking time bomb immediately. Then, with a bit of fear and caution, Van Koy struck strongly with his sword down the middle of Trio Nien's body from head to crotch. He spread his arms and legs wide, taking the full blow. Before Van Koy could do anything else, the guy's face twisted in pain. He screamed like a madman, blood spraying everywhere. One sword strike from Van Koy cut him in two from top to bottom. Even the fire extinguisher was split in half. The guy was in so much pain he couldn't resist Van Koy. He was like a mouse beaten to a pulp, the loud thud of the big body hitting the floor, until everything gradually calmed down. Van Koy stood in front of Trio Nien. He collapsed at Van Koy's feet, blood spreading all over the floor. Behind Lo Han stood watching Van Koy trembling. The others in the room were terrified by the scene. They had only ever written and typed before, never expecting to see such bloody fights. The young man in front turned pale again. Another killing already. Lo Han stood behind Van Koy's shadow. She looked at him for a long time. This was the first time she saw Van Koy so firm and strong like this. At this moment, Van Koy noticed the beauty behind him who was staring at him. He just glanced over, but she didn't even dare to look up at him anymore. Van Koy whispered, "Teaching others is hard to understand. Teaching once is enough." Hopefully Lo Han remembers well the consequences of innocence. Then looking around the room, everyone had to be cautious of Van Koy's power. These people looked at each other in horror, not daring to say a word. He noticed that even though he killed him because of imminent mutation, their fear helped him control the situation. Why is Van Koy now the strongest person in the room? He then lowered his voice dangerously to assert authority over those present. Is there anyone left who wants to fight for it? Van Koy did this also to stop anyone with bad intentions. So the others immediately shook their heads. Everyone showed fearful and worried expressions. No, we don't dare. Van Koy, we just want to live. Yes. Right after Van Koy retracted the weapon from his hand, it immediately vanished. That solved a problem in the room. Van Koy turned and said, "Good Lo Han, treat their wounds." She obediently turned to the three people in the room and answered yes. Outside, the zombies kept coming in increasing numbers. They were banging on the door loudly. Inside, Lo Han kindly treated the remaining survivors. She gently told her friend, Gia, "It's your first time treating. If it feels uncomfortable, speak up immediately." Meanwhile, Van Koy was focused on a nearby computer. He approached and tried to operate the computer a bit. But the computer screen went haywire and couldn't be stopped. Then Van Koy reached into his pocket to take out his phone. He looked at both the computer screen and the phone screen. Neither was working anymore. As expected, all communication channels were disabled. Van Koy turned his face cautiously. He realized the only way to connect to the outside world was the channel linked to the game world. Probably most people thought the same as him right now. Yes, Koy opened the system. He could see on the system forum many people trying to contact each other. There, the game channel was open, a world channel of the kingdom rescuing from zombies everywhere. "Whoever is in the capital city center, help me secure the area. The council has sent a rescue team. All communication with the two scammers is cut off. Do you know the situation I'm gathering at the Zhongjin building? If you're brave enough, come." After reading this, Van Koy felt frustrated because this shattered apocalypse suddenly entered his life and resonated with those begging for help on the forum. Most were isolated, wanting to survive, and now could only rely on themselves. Suddenly, the system appeared before him. Van Koy looked up. According to the detailed system info displayed, Van Koy was an NPC of a new village level 1 with 130 points out of 200. Knight profession, Shadow Realm. Agility, 9 spirit, 10 physique. 10 compatibility, 10%. Personal talent of the universe child can assign up to 3 stats. During combat, stats increase tenfold. If changed permanently, stats increase 100-fold. Cooldown time, 24 hours. Specialization, decay, and death. Current skills, none. After reading these details, Van Koy had many thoughts and questions in his mind. Increasing stats tenfold in combat might only apply to points and compatibility. What exactly is 10% compatibility? He stroked his chin, pondering for a long time. Also, a permanent increase of 100 times, that's a king-level skill. Maybe I shouldn't rush to use it without fully understanding the game. In the early stage after the startup time ends, there might be many challenges ahead, and this ability could be helpful. Then, he thought. Then he clicked to temporarily increase the level, boosting the points by 10 times first. Immediately, the system displayed a notification confirming the speed of point accumulation was successfully adjusted to X10. Van Koy's whole body seemed to be infused with a surge of power. He excitedly clenched both fists to absorb that energy. Amazing, with this 10 times multiplier. My power increase speed is 10 times faster than others. Meanwhile, Lohan had also used up all her energy to heal the people in the room. She felt her body weaken. Lohan touched her stomach and suddenly exclaimed she was so hungry, wondering if it was because using magic drained her stamina, suddenly ravenous. Just over here, after boosting his stamina and combat strength, Van Koy looked around the room and saw his teammates both hungry and exhausted while outside they were suppressed by zombies. He thought to himself, there's nothing in the meeting room. If we keep hiding like this, sooner or later we'll run out of strength. Then Van Koy pursed his lips and pondered. This was also a difficult situation for him. There were about 20 hours left before players officially entered the game. As if anticipating the situation, Van Koy had fears in his heart that he dared not voice. 20 hours later, it was feared that Lam Tin would face a disaster even worse than the zombie outbreak. At that moment, his hand began summoning a sword again. He told himself he had to make use of the time before the startup phase ended, get as many points as possible. Seeing Van Koy pick up the sword and prepare to go outside, everyone began to panic. Van Koy, what are you planning to do? You're not seriously going outside, are you? But Van Koy didn't bother to answer a single word. He still kept that cold and quiet personality. They feared that if Van Koy went outside, the zombies would flood in and attack them. Gia stepped forward to stop him. You're crazy. Outside is full of zombies. If you open the door, they'll rush in and tear us apart immediately. Everyone here was terrified and didn't dare say anything else. Lohan also felt reluctant but didn't bother to speak up against the foolish people in the room. Van Koy, with a strong aura, coldly said only 2 words, step aside. But given the dangerous situation, Van Koy still decided to leave and fight in the rear. Lohan truly couldn't hold back anymore. She weakly reached out to touch him, worried about his health. Van Koy, do you really have to go outside? It's very dangerous out there. We barely found a place to hide. Then Van Koy turned with a stern face and said bluntly, without supplies, hiding until death is the same. I will try to wipe out all the zombies out there. If you want to stay and wait for death, then close the door later. Yet these people still stubbornly held on to their foolish thoughts. Grandma Gia in front kept shouting, waiting to die is better than risking death. 2 others here also joined in, shouting at Van Koy and constantly fearing they would be logged out. That's right. Do you know how many monsters are outside? You have weapons so you can talk, but how can we go out empty-handed and survive? But ignoring the nonsense from these old folks, Van Koy still insisted on taking the sword and going outside. Lohan, scared, ran over and grabbed his arm. Van Koy, maybe we should wait a little longer. The military should be arriving soon. If we can just wait for rescue, we'll be safe. Hearing this, Van Koy hesitated a bit. He glanced back but then turned away, muttering, with the intervention of the Apocalypse Game official rescue. Amidst the ideological struggle among those in the room, suddenly a loud noise came from the broken glass door. Everyone in the room panicked and looked outside. Van Koy and Lohan were startled. Both stepped out to look into the distance and said together, that was because outside there were extremely modern fighter jets. They were flying around the city's buildings and approaching the group's location. No one knew the origin of these planes. Inside one of those planes, a man sat speaking into a radio, loudly announcing, "This is the Flying Fortress, always stationed in the sky of the military alliance. I am Zhao Liang, captain of the 3rd Vanguard Squad, the army of all humanity. Lam Tin, don't give up." The powerful fighter jets flew out across the entire battlefield. They were doing their best to resist the zombie attacks. Above, loudspeakers were activated to give surviving humans hope. The military has dispatched 10 teams to conduct rescue operations. It is expected that the situation will be basically controlled within 3 hours. Anyone who can please head up to the rooftop. We will support from the street below. The survivors are busy fighting off the zombies. As soon as they heard this news, they felt like they had found a new chance to live. Great reinforcements have arrived. Everyone follow me up to the rooftop. Over the loudspeaker from the large aircraft, the announcement continued. Anyone unable to move, please hide safely and wait patiently. Below, a girl was desperately trying to fend off a zombie about to attack her. Upon hearing this news, she cried tears of joy. Sob, the reinforcements are here! The nightmare is about to end. Back at Van Koy's office with the other survivors in the company, everyone after hearing the rescue information ensured safety and avoided infection. Trust that the military will never abandon anyone. Everyone was visibly happy and ran out all at once to see the planes cheering. Lohan said, "That's right, the military really has come to save us, thank goodness." But unexpectedly, the last refuge for the surviving humanity encountered a problem. We will try to save everyone one by one before he could finish. Evil energies surrounded the pilot. He couldn't say anything more, and those were his last words. Right after these announcements gave people hope to survive, the rhythm was broken by an announcement from this damn apocalypse game. Beep beep to ensure game operation, ongoing cleanup of disturbances. A loud explosion in the sky. The evil energies caused the most advanced LOM-10 aircraft to explode in the vast sky. Everyone in the room who had just a little hope now saw that hope shattered before their eyes. Debris from the plane that could have saved the survivors fell piece by piece to the ground. Everything was lost. The huge plane crashed into a building, causing it to collapse and create a horrific tragedy. Below, the survivors and zombies struggling with each other were all affected by this. They fled in all directions, screams of terror filling the air. The building that collapsed happened to be the same building where Van Koy's group was staying. As it fell, Van Koy and his companions quickly ran forward to avoid being pulled down by Earth's gravity. They were fighting for their last chance at life. Scenes of apocalypse panic followed as several planes were simultaneously destroyed and crashed into collapsing buildings. Inside the room, Van Koy plunged his sword deep into the floor. Due to the tilt of the room, those behind without support fell freely. But Van Koy could hold on thanks to the sword stuck in the floor, and he still held Lohan in his arms. In this life-or-death moment, Lohan truly wanted to live. She cried and whimpered, looking up at him, pleading, "Van Koy, save me." This situation was truly a never-ending tragedy. He gripped tightly to hold two lives with one sword while the Earth's gravity continuously pulled them down hard. Holding tightly the only beauty and a healer who might help him later, Van Koy gritted his teeth in frustration. Damn, this is a hellishly tough start. The entire server's system announced to ensure this area maintains enough NPCs for players to defeat. Supplies are being deployed now. NPCs should look for items and survive on their own. Van Koy stared at this notification for a long time. He didn't know if it was mocking him or giving him another chance. But Van Koy's situation was a dilemma as he struggled to save both their lives. Van Koy looked down and ordered coordination with Lohan. "I'll count to 3, then we jump together." Just hearing this, Lohan panicked. She shouted loudly while still being a burden to Van Koy, "What? Wait, from this height, even if we don't die, we'll be crippled." But this time there was no more hesitation. Van Koy quickly retracted his weapon, dove down, and grabbed the beauty's waist. Van Koy could be called a natural risk-taker, yet he dared to jump down from that height holding a beautiful girl. The two decisively counted to 3. Lohan clung tightly to Van Koy, resigned to fate, closing her eyes and screaming at the top of her lungs. Van Koy is not ordinary. If he can activate this innate talent hack, it has to be different. He took a running start to jump onto the falling concrete slabs. Van Koy moved lightly through the air. He rushed forward at free-fall speed but still managed to control himself. After a moment, both landed safely, using Van Koy's knees to absorb the impact. He held the beauty Lohan tightly in his arms. Both of them hit each other but still landed safely. Van Koy stood up straight, still holding Lohan close to his chest. She was very scared and didn't dare to open her eyes. Right behind Van Koy, the falling concrete slabs exploded into clouds of smoke and debris fiercely. Only after feeling no more danger did Lohan slowly dare to open her eyes. Van Koy's voice sounded deep and warm. "It's okay. Open your eyes." Seeing his handsome face still holding her tightly, Lohan felt relieved with many complicated and dark thoughts in her head. "Thank you," but her tone was very shy. Right after the beautiful woman's slender legs touched the ground, but as soon as she landed, Van Koy was drawn to the small crates in front of him. He retracted the sword in his hand and walked closer. Lohan curiously watched Van Koy's silhouette. Looking more closely, she saw neatly arranged blue crates. Lohan just realized this and shouted, "Huh! Are those supplies?" Then she was shocked to understand. Was he foolishly thinking he chose to jump down here because he saw supplies? Watching Van Koy's dignified steps ahead, Lohan couldn't believe his resilient and top-tier strength, thinking to herself. In such a dangerous situation, he still had the energy to observe and search for supplies. His adaptability was truly amazing. Van Koy intended to go get the items. Suddenly, a large zombie appeared right in front of him. It lunged to grab Van Koy. This one looked grimy and black. It attacked like it had been starving for days. Yes, Van Koy quickly used his sword to block the zombie. He glared at it with a hint of fear, as if battle experience ran in his blood. Annoying! Zombies are so annoying! He made a sword slash to relieve the irritation. Van Koy swung hard, slashing across it. But this one wasn't ordinary. It quickly stepped back to dodge. At the same time, Van Koy sensed it was different from the ones upstairs. He jumped back to keep a distance right in front of it. This only made the zombie angrier. Its two eyes flared red, then it screamed, its mouth full of saliva. Over here there were sounds and the smell of humans. Two zombies crawled out slowly from the rubble. Van Koy saw them, but then Lohan also trembled in fear. When she looked back, she noticed two more zombies lurking behind her, so both of them were surrounded. The number of zombies was overwhelming. They gathered and started to close in, ready to feast on the two delicious treats. Lohan was terrified and didn't know what to do. Van Koy were surrounded. But in this situation, they leaned back to back. Van Koy carefully observed the number of zombies for a while. Meanwhile, the zombies were still hungry, creeping closer to tear them apart. Van Koy spoke his plan. There are too many zombies. Later, don't follow me. Split up and run. But at this point, Lohan was really scared. She asked again, split how? What if a zombie chases me? No time left. Van Koy swung his sword and flew off in another direction. He lured a group of zombies after him, leaving the beauty behind with the disgusting zombies. He spoke while running circles very quickly. Van Koy rushed forward and slashed the first zombie. It took a sword hit, bled red, and fell. The system announced one level 1 zombie eliminated, 100 points earned. Far from Lohan's position, he tried shouting loudly so she could hear, "Remember what I said." Then a crazed horde of zombies chased after Van Koy. He deliberately ran out to split the zombies apart. They don't know how to think now. They only chase after the enticing smell of human flesh. They also have to follow the plan set by Van Koy. Lohan now has to fend for herself. She ran so hard that her two grapefruit-sized breasts almost fell out, running while shouting loudly, "Ah, ah, ah!" The crazed zombies were right on her tail. Lohan ran crying and sobbing, tears streaming down her face. She tried to gather all her strength and shouted, "Even if you say so, I don't know how to lead the monsters." As Lohan tried to lure half the zombies to follow her on this side, Van Koy had already taken care of nearly all the zombies chasing after him. Truly a smart guy. Doing this makes it easier to handle than facing the whole horde of zombies surrounding them alone. Meanwhile, Lohan was still running headlong. After leading each zombie chasing her perfectly, Van Koy quickly rushed to the beauty's side. "Leading them like this is pretty good," Lohan exclaimed, startled, but delighted to see Van Koy's handsome face appear. "Van Koy, so now there's only this small group left." Van Koy gripped his sword tightly and struck hard. Many zombies were continuously defeated. They clumsily took the slashes right in their stomachs. Everywhere was splattered with their rotten red blood. The system reported eliminated 3 level 1 zombies, earning 300 points. He quickly defeated the zombie siege surrounding both of them. Thinking peace was near, Lohan was shocked to see another horde of zombies rushing toward them. Why is there another group? Without hesitation, the more zombies he fought, the more excited Van Koy seemed. Without a word, he charged forward and smashed the foolish zombies to pieces. This time, Van Koy's swordsmanship was much more skillful. He sliced powerfully from one zombie to another. Wherever he went, zombies fell down. Finally, Van Koy stopped amidst the fallen zombies at his feet. Now Van Koy appeared in a very heroic and dashing manner before the morning sunlight in front of Lohan. He seemed like an endless nightmare for the low-level zombies. At this moment, many zombies collapsed. They writhed in pain, but now could do nothing to him. After a while, the zombies convulsed and truly died. They could no longer move. Only then did the beautiful Lohan breathe a sigh of relief. She leaned against a nearby wall. "Huff, safe now." Contrary to Lohan's constant worry, Van Koy was very excited because his power kept increasing. "Got 10 times the points for killing zombies, easy money. Since we're getting forbidden weapons anyway, why doesn't she send more portable sentry guns? With my skills, this isn't hard at all." Still basking in his joy, Van Koy suddenly remembered he almost forgot about the supplies. So he went back to the supply boxes from earlier and saw they were now covered by many concrete blocks. Van Koy immediately pushed the big concrete slab away. The system immediately announced, "Congratulations on discovering supplies. System awarded 1,000 points. Suggest checking the scoreboard for your rank." Reading this on the system, Van Koy was shocked and startled. The system scoreboard clearly showed the current ranking order: first Fung Can with 432 points. Vu Van Tun Ba Kung Saudi Ba. Van Koy Hai 824. Looking at his own rank, Van Koy finally realized his strength level. His mind was full of questions. Why was he ranked with Fung Can and Vu Van Tun? These two are icons of the Human Alliance war hero. Fung Can rose to Alliance Commander by his actual achievements. the hero from a common background and council leader, Vuvantan, clan chief of the Vuvan family. One of the 7 great clans known as the brain of the parliament. Even if the apocalypse comes, as long as these two survive with all residents of Lam Tin, it would be the strongest reassurance. At this point, Von Koy felt a bit apprehensive. He pondered for a long time. Over 3,000 points would be inhuman if only from monster kills, but these two have many elite troops under them, so they probably gained a lot from collecting supplies. Then he selected on the system to confirm whether to hide his name on the leaderboard or not. At this moment, Von Koy's thinking was very smart. He wants to hide it to keep himself safe. On second thought, they are the pinnacle of Lam Tin. My name appearing on the same leaderboard would definitely attract too much attention, so better keep it low-key. At the same time, Lohan became curious and slowly approached him, asking, "Van Koy, what's inside the supply box?" But Van Koy didn't tell her about the leaderboard. He acted like he was just opening it now, saying, "Let me see." As soon as the lid was opened, a series of system notifications quickly informed Van Koy about the items inside level 1+2 healing potions, level 1+2 combat explosion potions, level 1 antidotes, and level 1 sharp blade shards. All useful things at this moment. Van Koy looked up with a noticeably brightened expression. His eyes gleamed like he saw gold, or rather it was gold. At this moment, medical supplies. He picked up a vial in his hand, looking at it affectionately. Good, with these potions, I can handle ordinary wounds myself. Then he glanced at the beautiful Manhwa behind, who was still bewildered and curious about the items inside the box. Our Van Koy put on a wicked and sly expression. With these, it seems I don't need to carry Lohan anymore. She's not strong in combat and often causes trouble. Could it be that our male lead intends to abandon this doll? Suddenly, in a moment, without guard, Van Koy turned around and noticed a strange object rushing towards him. He quickly drew his sword and prepared. Another zombie. This one was stronger than the usual ones. It aimed to attack Van Koy. This one was female. It opened its mouth wide, full of sharp teeth, with a predatory smile. Its glowing eyes locked onto Van Koy. Its strength was not ordinary. He had to brace himself hard just to hold it off. Knowing its danger level, he immediately ordered Lohan behind him to move away. She was scared but reluctant. Lohan turned back to warn him, "Be careful." After ensuring Lohan was safe, Van Koy confidently swung his sword and showed his skill. He pulled the sword back, startling the zombie in front of him. Then he pushed hard and slashed the zombie's body. His moves were formidable as he stomped strongly and jumped back. At that moment, the zombie in front of Van Koy was unharmed. He looked at its silhouette and marveled, amazed at the speed. He had just thought that when the zombie with 2 huge breasts charged at him again. It moved as fast as lightning, clawing sharply at Van Koy. He looked up stunned. Van Koy had just increased his combat power but was still caught off guard by such a difficult zombie. This one knew where to strike. It flew over and snatched at Van Koy's private area with its sharp arm. He skillfully dodged. Luckily, or else his manhood wouldn't be usable anymore. The zombie didn't want to let Van Koy go and kept rushing at him. It caused powerful explosions that weakened Van Koy's strength. Yes! Van Koy immediately retreated, bracing himself with his hands and gripping his sword defensively. So far, he hadn't been able to do anything. Van Koy slowly stood up. He looked ahead. The zombie was still crazily trying to seize his sweet body. Even though he ranked 3rd on the system, facing this one made him wary of its power. This zombie, though similar in build to Lohan, had double the attack strength of its kind. Could it be a mutated monster beyond level 1? At the same time, he summoned an energy vial he had just picked up. Van Koy jabbed the syringe strongly into his shoulder. He directly injected the energy into his body to boost his fighting strength. This is troublesome. Maybe I have to use this. The system notification appeared, "You have injected level 1 combat explosion potion. All combat attributes increase by 20%, lasting 10 seconds. After hearing this notification, Van Koy felt like fainting. He wanted to scream inside. Only 10 seconds from this energy vial. What kind of fake potion is this? It's only been a few seconds since injection. The zombie in front then pushed its body forcefully toward Van Koy. He struggled to lift the sword to defend himself. After the medicine had absorbed into his body, okay, it's all set. Van Koy followed up by flying up to deal with the zombie. He had to accept it, but something is better than nothing. With the effect of the medicine, dealing with this zombie was no longer difficult. Van Koy pushed the sword hard, stabbing through the zombie's shoulder. Unlucky, it screamed in pain and fell backward. This wound caused the zombie unbearable pain. It opened its mouth wide and screamed deafeningly. The icy white hand grabbed the sword's head, trying to pull it out, but Van Koy pushed hard and it couldn't pull it free. The zombie's other hand raised high, trying to scratch Van Koy. He immediately realized this, but the zombie's speed was too strong as soon as he noticed. It scratched once and tore a small patch of skin on his handsome face. Watching Van Koy fight from afar, Lohan panicked, seeing his facial wound. Van Koy the zombie's strike was brutal. Van Koy's injury made him even more furious. He pushed both hands against the sword. The zombie was pushed back strongly by Van Koy's force. It frantically clawed with its sharp iron hands. Indeed, this zombie's strength had mutated to a higher level. Van Koy, with the strength of a rookie, really couldn't match it. Gradually, he was pushed closer to the wall. Although stabbed in the shoulder, the zombie was strong enough to push Van Koy nearly against the wall. He was trying hard to brace himself to fight this fierce zombie. Van Koy gritted his teeth. Time was running out. Damn, the explosion time is over. If only he had taken all the supplies earlier, it would have been much better. Looking toward the supply box, he thought to himself about how to approach it again. The zombie became even more frenzied. Its body jerked violently and emitted strange sounds. Its two eyes glowed brightly with a sinister aura. Van Koy clenched his teeth and pushed hard against the wall behind him. He gave the zombie a punch to the jaw. The other arm stabbed and pierced the sword through the shoulder. Taking this opportunity, Van Koy pulled the sword out hard. Then he quickly ran off in another direction, leaving the zombie thrown aside. Van Koy knew the golden moment to finish it was now. He hurried back to the supply meeting spot. For now, Van Koy could only go there to get more supplies. Behind him, the zombie still wouldn't let go. It screamed madly. He turned around cursing, "Damn, it's chasing so fast!" At the same time, 2 energy supplements were thrown toward him to catch. Reacting very quickly, Van Koy grabbed both while still running at full effort. He said, "This should be enough," then looked back at Lohan with great surprise. Now the pretty girl standing before the supply meeting spot had timely handed Van Koy the injection medicine. He was extremely surprised because she finally helped with something very useful. "Is it Lohan?" Lohan raised the small knife in her hand. She concentrated a healing energy into it toward the zombie. While both Van Koy and the zombie were running toward Lohan, she firmly held the sword and shouted, "Look at me, look at me!" A rabbit cornered against the wall must still struggle to fight back. At this moment, Lohan realized the importance of fighting, crying and shouting, "Look at me, look at me!" Lohan, though timid, poured out all her resentment from before. She held the small knife with both hands, crying as if to flood the place. Seeing this scene, the zombie seemed to wonder if this one could really fight it. Suddenly, Van Koy stopped abruptly. His feet rubbed hard against the ground. Then Van Koy pushed 2 syringes sharply into his arm at the same time. He was somewhat satisfied with what Lohan had done. This idiot actually helped a bit in a critical moment. Behind the zombie was still very agitated. It was still rushing forward, but something in front startled and frightened it. At that moment, Van Koy turned his face toward the zombie. He holds the sword, and an enormous burst of energy explodes out. It's like a powerful storm releasing overwhelming pressure. The zombie backs away in fear. The system notifies, "You have injected level 1 combat burst drug. All combat attributes increase by 20% lasting 10 seconds. You have injected level 1 life recovery drug. Reduces pain sensation by 80% lasting 10 seconds. Right now, Van Koy has become strong and not easily touched. He is certain his current power is many times greater than that zombie's and can defeat it." Van Koy thrusts the sword forward with a strong, murderous aura. He narrows his eyes, looking at the fierce zombie that clings stubbornly like a leech. He speaks in a very threatening tone. "Next 10 seconds, be a real man." Van Koy turns to attack, but that damn zombie refuses to give up. It rushes wildly to bite and tear at him. Van Koy with explosive strength throughout his body. He jumps up with overwhelming power, ready to face the zombie head-on. Both charge at each other. When the zombie flies up to attack, Van Koy quickly dodges and instantly teleports behind it. Now comes the finishing blow. He takes advantage of the zombie's inattention from behind. He starts channeling energy into the sword for a powerful breakthrough. He slices the zombie's waist in 2. It lunges forward but can't see Van Koy anywhere. Behind it, he delivers a full-force damaging strike. The zombie's body splits into 2 halves, head and legs going separate ways. It collapses onto the ground, its body now weak, but its mouth still growls a few last times. The hungry leech zombie that clung to him all this time is finally destroyed. Van Koy stands looking for a while. Lohan rushes over and asks, "Van Koy, are you okay?" Lohan immediately uses her healing ability on Van Koy's body. He quickly recovers and feels very comfortable. Lohan gently says, "Let me heal your wounds," then softly calls out Saint Kwang. At this moment, Van Koi's view of Lo Han shifts slightly. Lo Han's growth speed is really faster than I thought. He recalls the old Lo Han, the moment she bravely stood up to fight monsters alongside him. And now Lo Han stands right before him. Thinking Van Koi is so strong he clearly could leave me behind after taking supplies. Yet he still saved my life. I have to do my best to help him overcome difficulties. After much thought, Lo Han quickly finishes healing Van Koi's injured arm. He feels extremely satisfied seeing his arm return to normal. After she finishes speaking, he excitedly thinks inside, "This magic is warm and pleasant. Looks like having a protector following me is even more useful than a supply box." After healing, Van Koi takes the sword and walks away in another direction. Lo Han watches his action, not understanding what he wants to do. Then Van Koi picks up a small knife from the ground. He now hands the small knife directly to Lo Han and says, "Come on, kill that female zombie. Just stab this knife into her heart. Normally, she's a good girl. Now she has to go kill a zombie." Lo Han nervously stammers, I go. Seeing Lo Han's attitude, Van Koi immediately seriously says to her, "We don't know what the future holds anyway. Right now, the most important thing is to strengthen our power. Not just me. You also need points." His words seem to sink in with Lo Han. She timidly and slowly takes the small knife. Thinking Van Koi is right, I have to get stronger too. I can't just rely on him. She holds the knife in her hand. Lo Han is weak and timid. She slowly approaches the upper part of the zombie. It is still struggling with its lower body severed. Lo Han holds the knife with both hands, trying to hide it from sight. Summoning all her courage, Lo Han closes her eyes and nose and raises her hand to stab down. The beauty screams, "Ah, ah, ah!" The loudspeakers shake violently. Immediately after, a sound of metal-piercing flesh is heard, throbbing anxiously, shooting up like deep red underground water, splattering everywhere. The sounds of screaming also stopped and gradually weakened. Lo Han slowly pulled out the small knife. So the beauty had done it herself, until the zombie went limp and could no longer move. Lo Han did it all by herself. Immediately, her system displayed a notification: eliminated a level 5 zombie. Received 500 points. Congratulations, you have earned a special reward level 1 healing skill. A single target skill that has a certain healing effect on external injuries. Just moments ago, she was scared and blaming herself. When she saw her experience points increase along with her level rising, Lo Han turned around with a hearty laugh and thanked Van Koi. "Thank you, Van Koi. I received 500 points and even learned a healing skill." At this point, Van Koi was shocked to the core. He didn't expect it, and then lost his composure, collapsing onto the ground. Van Koi fell to his knees and hands on the ground. He cried bitterly with regretful thoughts for letting that monster go to a brainless, pretty girl. 500 points, times 10 muscle. Isn't that 5,000 points? Enough for me to climb to the top of the leaderboard, knocking both the Alliance War God and the Parliament Speaker down, plus an extra skill. Oh my god, is there any level 5 zombie left for me to kill? Yes. Lo Han looked at Van Koi's expression and didn't understand what was going on. She even curiously asked, "Van Koi, what's wrong with you?" Once humiliated by a girl, how could he say anything more? Now Van Koi could only swallow his tears back inside. It's nothing. Just suddenly feeling a bit tired. Last time I even wanted to chase Lo Han away because she was just a stumbling block. But now Van Koi changed his mind 180 degrees. Looks like I have to keep this guardian close. If she slips out, wouldn't that benefit others? So the danger in this area is considered resolved. Van Koi turned and said to her, "Let's prepare for the next journey and go. There are no supplies right now. First, we must find a safe and stable shelter here." Suddenly, Lo Han called his name Van Koi. So he turned around with a curious expression. Right in front of him, Lo Han put on an extremely cute act. She looked straight into Van Koi's eyes and honestly said, "Just for you alone to know. I know a place with a lot of supplies. It's calmer here than at both of our company's place. Even though there are still signs of zombies here." The two of them wandered in a street corner, cautiously watching every small alleyway for zombie attacks. Looking out to the main road, many zombie corpses lay scattered, but there was no one around. Lo Han said to Van Koi that this place seemed to have experienced a fierce battle. All the zombies were eliminated, but he straightened up and stayed alert. Still had to be careful in case one slipped through the net. Hiding behind the wall now, both had to go out onto the main road. So Van Koi was very cautious. He slowly peeked out and whispered, "But the shelter you mentioned isn't the Green Bay area across the street, is it?" Then he looked at the apartment building in front of him. He confirmed by calling back, "Isn't that your house?" Hearing that, Lo Han was startled. She wrapped herself closer to Van Koi and asked in surprise, "How did you know?" He honestly replied, "At the office before, some male colleagues often shouted about taking you home, so I overheard. I'm not stupid. Of course I figured it out." Then Lohan, afraid her private plan was about to be exposed, shyly waved her hands in front of Van Koy and repeatedly said, "I really just wanted to check if my parents were safe, but I'm not lying. My mother is a hoarder, especially fond of natural fruits. She often brings back lots of vegetables to store in the attic, enough for us to eat for a long time." But now she was even imagining far-off things. Lohan shyly turned her head away. She didn't even dare to look at him. "If you want, you can settle at my house. I also want to introduce you to my parents." It seemed that Van Koy wasn't really interested in Lohan's nonsense. He decisively turned his head to look ahead, having no other choice left. Van Koy whispered, "It would be a shame to give up after coming this far. Besides, the zombies around here have already been cleared out. Let's just say we're making the trip for supplies." Yes. After a while, he decided to agree to go. Lohan happily went ahead to lead the way. She was also more enthusiastic and took bolder steps. Yes, just up ahead. Then suddenly Van Koy grabbed Lohan's hand. "Wait, before we go, I have to remind you again. Do you remember everything?" Lohan turned back with a puzzled look. "Ah, yes." Then immediately acted natural, putting her hands on her hips confidently in front of Van Koy. "Don't worry, I remember everything. In the apocalypse, besides zombies, there are 3 types of people you absolutely must not provoke. First, those who were skilled in combat techniques before the apocalypse in similar attribute conditions. These people have stronger combat power. The assassin profession mainly focuses on agility, secondary on strength. Note: when attacking in close combat, they ignore 15% of the target's defense. Especially assassins may even get bonus professional skills. Both marksmen right now are complete rookies. 1 bullet can take down a target, but game rules state only marksmen can be equipped with guns. The marksman profession mainly focuses on agility, secondary on spirit. Note: can equip guns for ranged attacks. Their hit rate increases by 25%. Therefore, marksmen are extremely dangerous characters. If you encounter one, run immediately. Third, beast tamers. They don't need to fight themselves, commanding pets to charge on their behalf. They are definitely the kings of rookies right now. The beast tamer profession mainly focuses on physical strength, secondary on spirit. Note: each time a pet is activated, physical strength increases by 3%. Pet attacks increase by 3%, stacking up to 3 layers. Hearing and seeing Lohan recite so fluently, Van Koy felt somewhat reassured. He took the sword and actively moved forward with the little girl following behind. Lohan curiously asked, "So out of the 6 basic professions, 3 are extremely dangerous characters. Are they really that strong?" "Yes, based on what I know." Van Koy turned and answered seriously. "Of course, especially be wary of marksmen. If you get into conflict with a marksman, you might die without even knowing how." Noticing 2 flickers of unusual light near people, the light then focused right on Van Koy's chest. He looked down in shock, not yet able to react. Then, after aiming carefully, a large bullet suddenly flew from a distance straight toward Van Koy. He was super agile and luckily dodged in time. Van Koy panicked and shouted, "Sniper!" Meanwhile, Lohan was extremely worried about him. Looking ahead carefully, Van Koy saw many VIP military vehicles up front. Nearby, a shooter was aiming a laser sight directly at both of them. The man lying on the hood of a vehicle was skillfully using a sniper rifle from afar. He looked through the scope and communicated with someone else over the walkie-talkie. "Han Team Southeast area. I detected 2 zombies." Seeing the sniper soldier in front, Van Koy had to be cautious and afraid. "Marksmen really are the bane of my existence." Then he and Lohan raised their hands high to show they were human. Van Koy took the initiative to approach and said, "Don't shoot, we're just passers-by." The man was also very cautious. In that era, he could not trust anyone, so he called out, "Stand still. If you want to live, prove you're human." This tense situation meant any slip-up could send them to the afterlife to watch fire chickens. So Van Koy, hearing this, was at a loss and asked, "How exactly do we prove this?" Coincidentally, at that moment, a zombie near Van Koy woke up and crawled toward him. Although missing an arm and a leg, it could still attack others. It was immediately attracted by the human scent. Its eyes glowed brightly as it screamed terrifyingly. "So that's how you prove you're human." Van Koy flew over and slashed the zombie's head off in one strike as a farewell. Van Koy acted quickly, and the system simultaneously announced the elimination of a level 1 zombie, awarding 100 points. Looking down at the battered zombie he just took down, Van Koy, having just received a decent amount of points, was quite satisfied with this. "I did this just to clear the enemy's suspicion, but earning points this way is pretty easy." He gripped a nearby struggling zombie with his sword, then called out loudly to Lohan. Lohan, don't just stand there. Hurry up and strike with your blade to earn some points. The system announced the elimination of a level 1 zombie, awarding 100 points. Lohan was startled and immediately ran over. Oh wow, she can now summon objects herself. She focused both hands to conjure a small dagger. The first stab was scary, but the second time felt normal. Lohan quickly got used to it and attacked the zombie as instructed by Van Koy. Lohan's system announced the elimination of a level 1 zombie, awarding 10 points. Then Van Koy's and Lohan's systems kept reporting in turn, eliminated a level 1 zombie 100 points. Eliminated a level 1 zombie 10 points. Eliminated a level 1 zombie 100 points. Seeing everything firsthand, Van Koy and the beauty with him eliminated the zombies ahead. The man stood upright and shouted angrily, looking very annoyed. Kid, bring your girlfriend over here. Don't try to steal our points. Seeing the sniper's action, Van Koy looked down at the zombies beneath his feet and clicked his tongue in regret. Meanwhile, he noticed Lohan's face was red as a chili pepper. She was only paying attention to the soldier's words. Girlfriend, huh? We need to make sure neither of you are zombies. So they let Van Koy and Lohan into their combat zone. A woman stepped forward to check both of them. Following the soldier's order, she thoroughly checked for any open wounds. Looking behind, they had many people with different professions. Observing the situation, Van Koy noticed these people looked clearly guarded. After some consideration, Van Koy realized this place had become an organized group. He whispered, Looks like most of this group are marksmen with a few mages and the rest are riders, warriors, and beast tamers. Each person stands in an optimal position. He not only admired this group, but also respected their adaptability. Guessing, to have built such a structured formation so early in the apocalypse, the team leader must be a professional or military. The woman who inspected them reported to the deputy team leader, These two have no wounds. The man called the deputy team leader showed a delighted and friendly expression upon hearing this. He immediately said, Phew, jumping around, but no infection. We're lucky to meet the execution squad. His friendly attitude made Van Koy more open. He approached curiously and asked, Execution squad, are you city public security police? The deputy team leader enthusiastically replied in detail, Yes, the apocalypse brought lots of zombies to the city center. Team leader Han led us to break into the armory and set up a front line to evacuate everyone. He honestly recounted everything clearly to Van Koy. The nearby streets have all been evacuated and we're about to pull out, so you two are really lucky. Hearing this, Van Koy finally understood. When this person appeared, the deputy and the girl seriously greeted him, Team Leader Han. Van Koy and the beauty froze, not knowing this person's background. Team Leader Han appeared as the deputy mentioned with a cold and decisive demeanor. Upon arrival, Team Leader Han said nothing and focused directly on the two newcomers to his combat zone. Then he approached Van Koy and spoke first. He introduced himself and carefully asked, I'm Han Yi, leader of the execution squad. Are you two survivors who just arrived? Why did you come here? I felt I could trust this man. Lohan stepped forward and answered for Van Koy. Hello, Team Leader Han, we're from the Green Bay district. Do you know the current situation there? My parents are still in that district. Even Team Leader Han looked dismayed after hearing this. He showed a serious expression and said to Lohan, Green Bay, huh? That place is very dangerous. If your parents are still there, I'm afraid they can't be saved. Lohan's determination to survive this long was only because she wanted to return to her parents. But the moment she heard this, she felt like falling into an abyss. What? Lohan was stunned. She never expected such a terrible thing to happen to her family. Van Koy immediately approached the beauty and caught her. Lohan was now completely devastated, but Van Koy remained calm. He looked up and asked the Captain Han for more information. Captain Han, is communication cut off? Why can't many people send messages? Are you certain there is no one alive in the area? The deputy captain nearby suddenly became restless. He rushed over and shouted at Van Koy, Hey, are you doubting our Captain Han? But the captain remained very calm. He restrained his restless younger brother and said in a low voice, It's okay. Then with a resolute and calm attitude, he frankly answered in front of Van Koy, My team and I have continuously sent messages on the global channel trying to contact survivors. At first, we received responses from people in the Green Bay area, but half an hour ago it went completely silent. Moreover, among the hordes of zombies coming here, the largest number came from Green Bay. I'm afraid the whole area has been overrun. Even with weapons, one person can't handle that many zombies. This information was indeed very dangerous for the current situation. Although he wanted to help Lo Han Van Koi, still couldn't do anything more. Captain Han, with sincere attitude and determined tone, sincerely whispered, "I advise you not to be reckless right now. What your parents want most is to see you survive, not die in their place." Van Koi caught the pitiful girl in his arms. Looking into her sorrowful eyes, he silently thought Captain Han's judgment was right. Lo Han's parents probably have already. Now going to Green Bay is not wise. He just hoped she would be sensible. They had only talked for a few sentences when trouble began. Near the group of people far away, a terrible chaos suddenly broke out. This caused the nearby area to tremble. Everyone turned to look with horror. A soldier ran over in a panic and reported, "It's not good. Captain Han, something is rushing from the north. This time it's not zombies." Captain Han immediately ran closer to the soldier. Van Koi himself saw what was in front of him, completely surprised, eyes wide and mouth agape. In front of the group was a herd of mutated pigs. They were running together in large packs. These were no ordinary pigs. They were strong and furious. Wherever they went, they smashed everything. Looking closely at their faces, they showed signs similar to zombies. Sharp fangs and claws grew all over their bodies, stained with bright red blood. Van Koi recognized them and shouted that these were dangerous, mutated zombie pigs ahead. The defense team immediately mobilized forces to fight. Many men grabbed large protective shields and ran out. Captain Han led the way into position, ready to fight. Each of them carried large sniper rifles. Step by step, they confronted the mutated pigs. They began aiming their guns. Captain Han ordered all snipers to advance. Behind the front line, knights and soldiers in the second row stood ready to support. The animal tamers guarding the street corners immediately sounded the alarm if anything happened. The remaining mages stayed in the rear. Once the fight started, they didn't hesitate to use all their healing magic. It seemed the commander had well arranged the battle formation. The mages rushed forward and prepared their powers to simultaneously respond on one side. Van Koi closely observed this group's battle formation and was impressed. Indeed, this was the city's new security enforcement team, formed less than 8 hours before the apocalypse. Their formation was well coordinated. In front, the herd of pigs was running closely toward the group. The deputy captain with blonde hair urgently turned to report to Captain Han. "The zombie pigs are within shooting range." He observed the situation carefully. Captain Han gave a strong order to open fire. At the same time, Chinese mages behind summoned a protective circle for the soldiers, who continuously fired into the crowd. As they advanced to attack, everyone obeyed the command in unison. Deploying troops like this is very reasonable. The pigs running forward were immediately shot down. They took each bullet to their bodies, spraying red blood everywhere. Each one flipped onto its back, kicking wildly and screaming pitifully. The ones lying down up front were quickly charged by zombie pigs from behind. They were numerous, so eliminating them took a long time. The group frantically opened fire on the rotten pigs. The deputy team leader saw the situation was complicated and immediately reported to Captain Han. "This is bad. At this rate, the monsters will break through the front line." They thought they could easily wipe out this group of pigs. But unexpectedly, the number of zombie pigs was countless. Captain Han was also disheartened by the fierce attack. "Damn, even maximum firepower can't handle this. For the safety of everyone here for now," Captain Han ordered the entire team to retreat behind cover. So everyone quickly fell back. Meanwhile, as the captain said, the mages behind kept pushing hard to strengthen the barricades. The soldiers on this side sensed something was wrong and urged each other. "Ammo is running low, fall back quickly." Among them, one person hadn't managed to retreat in time. He was the last to run and was terrified, thinking about the fierce pigs behind him. He painfully thought to himself, "My leg is injured. I can't run fast." The zombie pig was powerful and had a large body. It saw a slow prey and immediately jumped to attack the man. Hearing the pig's squeeze, he knew he was done for. Captain Han was worried about his man. He shouted loudly, calling for Lao Vuong. Suddenly, from nowhere, a strong jet of water shot out and hit the pig. It was knocked away and couldn't grab the soldier. The man lost momentum and tumbled on the ground. Ah, what a surprise. Captain Han and the others turned to see who had taken action. The man in front was Van Koi, still holding a recently used fire hose. A smart and handsome man who could resist. He was very quick-witted in dangerous situations. Captain Han saw this and nodded approvingly, thinking to himself about using the high-pressure hose to block the zombie pigs. A real talent. But over here, they had to see their suffering comrade before they could get to him. Captain Han turned around happily and said, "Lao Vuong, you survived this time." Then he smiled more warmly at Van Koi. "Little brother, thanks for stepping in to save our comrade's life." But Van Coy replied simply and casually with what he wanted to say. Don't misunderstand, these monsters are very sensitive to the smell of blood. I just don't want the scent of human blood to attract more monsters. He worried and thought to himself. He intended to keep his observational abilities secret for now, but didn't expect to be exposed so soon. Looking ahead, the horde of zombie pigs was still rushing forward to attack the group. They ran in a stampede, howling loudly. Ugh! Van Coy looked out and felt exhausted for them. But how many of these pigs are left anyway? After ordering the snipers to retreat, Captain Han now made a bold move, ordering some forces with rocket launchers to move forward to provide cover. With the commander's order, most young men carrying large rocket launchers on their shoulders charged out simultaneously. They shouted in unison, each one expertly handling their rocket launcher. Like soldiers stepping out of military ranks, rockets flew at the monsters and exploded loudly, causing significant losses. Right after these rockets exploded simultaneously, many zombie boars were burnt black. They glowed and shook, filling the air with the smell of roasted pork and snot. Not stopping there, Captain Han's group continued firing large rockets at the pigs to kill them all. No matter where they ran, they were hit by bombs and bullets. The zombie boars exploded violently, their bodies torn apart in the fire with pig squeals echoing everywhere. After a while, many of the zombie boars were injured. Although most of their bodies were destroyed by the explosive power, many still held firm. Upon discovering this observing from behind, Van Coy immediately realized it wouldn't work unless he hit the weak spot. No matter how many bullets were fired, they couldn't take down the zombie pigs. The efficiency was too low. Outside, the soldiers frantically launched large rockets at the pigs, yet they still charged forward with their battered bodies. A nearby soldier began firing a few more shots to turn these beasts into pulp, but the soldier in front replied disappointedly, "I wish I could, but this is the last bullet." He intended to use the last rocket, but Van Coy's sword suddenly blocked the rocket's tip. "You're only stepping in now." Van Coy stepped forward confidently, shouldering his sword. He hurried to stop the soldier, then reached out to grab the rocket launcher. Van Coy's movements were swift. He pressed firmly on the launcher while the soldier was still unprepared. "Wait, using a rocket like the hero here is firing a slingshot." He flicked the rocket to fly just over his own head. The startled soldier cried out in shock. The rocket flew in a curved path and slammed into a nearby building. The zombie pigs on the ground were completely unharmed. Hearing the noise, they panicked even more and rushed forward faster. The soldier holding the rocket launcher shouted angrily, "New guy, what are you messing up for? You missed every shot!" But it was all part of Van Coy's plan. He purposely fired at a nearby building to make layers of bricks and stones fall down to block the rampaging zombie pigs. They had to break suddenly, but were too late. Large concrete slabs from nearby buildings crashed down onto the backs of the wild pigs. After a while, everything stabilized. The pigs in front were crushed to pieces by the falling concrete blocks, eliminating half of the horde. Those behind stopped and dared not move forward. Seeing this result, the soldier who had cursed earlier now spoke more gently. Something really did stop them. Over here, Van Coy looked at the zombie pigs with a smug smile. Luckily, my guess was right. Captain Han was also impressed by Van Coy's skill and insight, commenting, "This kid's got guts." But beyond that, these monstrous pigs were truly terrifying. They were strong enough to stand back up from the heavy concrete slabs. The captain saw the monsters' new movements, gasped in shock, and warned everyone to be alert. "Team, the monsters are starting to recover and there are still too many. Don't be careless." Van Coy pointed toward a distant smoke column and said, "Captain Han, do you see the nuclear power plant and the black smoke from the exhaust over there? The diesel generator's automatic emergency protection system hasn't been active for more than 72 hours. Over there are the wild pigs struggling to run toward us." Captain Han followed Van Coy's direction and suddenly realized, so that's what's going on. He hurriedly ordered the nearby man, "Vice Captain, I remember you're a professional electrician. Take your tools and lead people to the B cable area. Strip the tire to cut power where the wire core is exposed." The vice captain obeyed immediately. "Understood." The water pipe Van Coy had used to spray the wild pigs was dripping a little but had been shut off completely. Water still spilled and pooled across the floor. The group inside the base still hadn't taken any action. At this moment, water was flooding the street and the zombie pigs charged forward to attack, running madly and screaming. The vice captain brought a prepared electrical cable. The cable was already energized. He ran up and reported to Captain Han, "Cable is here. Captain Han quickly realized and threw it into the water, telling others to move away. The vice captain swiftly and carefully tossed the cable into the water, making sure not to get wet himself. He shouted a warning, "Get back!" The electrical cable energized the water immediately. The zombie pigs running through the electrified water were shocked, writhing in pain. These pigs were dumb as hell. Wherever they ran, they got shocked and paralyzed. More and more pigs were horrified by the shocks. They couldn't run anymore and writhed helplessly in the electrified water. Their screams echoed painfully in the air. At the same time, Van Koy's system displayed a message successfully eliminated a level 1 mutated pig. Monday, Tuesday, and so on the system panels reported successful extermination of the pigs, awarding 2,000 points. The numbers kept increasing. After a while, the herd of pigs was stunned by electric shocks. Many were down, only a few managed to stand weakly, staggering on the floor. The electricity still crackled non-stop. Signs were positive. Van Koy showed visible joy, gripping his hands tightly with excitement inside. After this operation, even if any zombie pigs survived, their combat strength would have been reduced by at least 80%. Captain Han and everyone here were left speechless witnessing this scene. The vice captain said, "I don't understand, but the electric output from the emergency diesel generator this time is beyond my expectations." Immediately after, Captain Han turned and spoke loudly and seriously to everyone. "This place's success is not just thanks to the emergency generator. After the building collapsed, metal particles and dissolved salts in the water significantly increased its conductivity, creating such an effect." Saying this, Captain Han glanced toward Van Koy's spot and whispered, "I didn't expect that in such a short time, using the terrain and available resources, you could come up with a way to break the deadlock like this." Captain Han looked directly at Van Koy, who was smiling proudly, and praised him. "His adaptability is truly impressive." Meanwhile, the boars that weren't dead yet seemed to have regained some energy and frenziedly charged again at Van Koy's group and Captain Han. The captain immediately turned to face the zombie boars and said, "One thing to say, it's still a bit early to say we've won." Captain Han and all the warriors here each held up their shields and charged to fight back the boars. Captain Han ran ahead, shouting to kill the biggest boar. The boar lunged to attack Van Koy. It opened its mouth wide, aiming to bite Van Koy's head. He wasn't afraid and charged forward with his sword. Van Koy first blocked the sharp-tusked snout of the charging zombie boar. He tried to keep his balance by firmly planting both feet to avoid being pushed over by the boar. Van Koy gritted his teeth and endured. He then flipped, breaking the boar's push. The boar flew backward, keeping distance from Van Koy. Van Koy's strength was now at its peak. He easily put distance between himself and the furious boar and maintained his footing. Van Koy thought about the impact force, which was even stronger than a level 5 assassin. Even he struggled this much, let alone the others who only had shields they simply couldn't hold up. Right now, everyone in Captain Han's group had to fend off attacks from a zombie boar. The blonde vice captain urgently shouted that the captain couldn't hold on any longer. But in this critical moment, our smart Van Koy came up with a new idea. He said if things dragged on, it would be disadvantageous for their side. They had to think of another way. Then the zombie boar attacked Van Koy again, wildly leaping forward. It was truly crazy. That massive body charged fiercely toward him. Yes, Van Koy used force to propel himself upward. He locked eyes, confronting the monster. Captain Han turned and shouted a warning, "Don't confront it head-on or you'll be taken down immediately." But Van Koy ignored Captain Han's warning. He stood firmly, holding tight. The zombie boar was charging straight at Van Koy. He said if he got taken down, it definitely wouldn't be him. Van Koy then forcefully drove his shield into the floor. This move was extremely powerful. The floor cracked and sank. Van Koy took the large sword in his hand and stabbed straight through the hole on the shield. He smiled mysteriously and said, "You're a dumb pig, I'm fully prepared." Van Koy thrust the sword forward into the face of the raging boar. He charged straight at the pointed tip of the sword. It was partly eager to snap at Van Koy, but unexpectedly got pierced right through the head by Van Koy's sword strike. The boar completely didn't understand Van Koy's intention. Van Koy had pierced right through the boar's head. He followed it without getting hurt at all. At that moment, Van Koy's eyes flashed with a spark. He seized the opportunity, and immediately after, Van Koy pulled out his shield. He chose the wild boar's weak spot after it lost momentum. Van Koy slashed it several times with his sword. The boar was thrown aside. Red syrup splattered everywhere. The system displayed a notice, successfully defeated a level 1 mutant boar and received 2,000 points. Standing over the boar's corpse, Van Koy smiled with satisfaction. His eyes flashed with a dangerous and cool look. He said, "You stupid boar, rest in peace." Von Koi's system notified his total current points, 140 points, and he received the level 1 Necromancer skill. The system clearly showed Von Koi's current status. Von Koi is a beginner with Village level 1 and accumulated 140 points. Occupation Dark Knight, Agility 9, Spirit 10, Stamina 10, Suitability 10%. Personal Talent Death Specialist. Profession has no skills yet but gained Necromancer level 4. The system further explained Necromancer level 1 can revive one unit whose level does not exceed yours to serve you. After revival, that unit will automatically synchronize its level with yours. The unit can carry the NPC attributes it had when alive. If those attributes are lower than the user's current attributes by more than 2 levels, they will be adjusted to the user's attributes minus 2 levels. All attributes increase by 5%. Note that at one time you can only revive one unit. If you cancel the revival bond, the target will immediately die. Currently, you cannot revive or control players as slaves. After reading everything, Von Koi became even more excited. He looked at it and said, "Necromancer, huh? Finally, I have a professional skill." Looking at the zombie boar he just defeated lying gasping on the floor, he muttered to himself to see how powerful this professional skill is. Yes, Von Koi smiled a bit brighter. He smirked to one side and said, "Rise, my love." At this moment, Von Koi's whole body radiated a dark power. He ignited the flames of hell. He clenched his fist tightly. "Come on, pig." Immediately, that aura imposed itself on the pig in front of him. It then stood up by itself. Blue hellfire burst all over its body. Its whole body now belonged to Von Koi. Its eyes were now milky white, swirling with dark energy. Standing before Von Koi, it was no longer aggressive like before. Now it bowed respectfully before its master. It was completely tamed and dependent. The deputy captain suddenly noticed this. He was startled when he looked over at Von Koi. He thought the boar Von Koi had just collected had come back to life. Behind Von Koi, he shouted loudly for the newcomer to quickly leave. That boar wasn't dead yet. It charged at the man. He was shocked to witness the strange phenomenon before his eyes. Von Koi had jumped onto the wild boar that had just awakened. At that moment, the boar turned its head back. It even carried Von Koi to attack its own kind. All of this made the deputy captain extremely confused. He exclaimed, "Knight boar rider up here?" Von Koi heard the deputy captain's words. He was a bit displeased, frowned with a dark face, and said, "Boar knight. What's that supposed to mean? Sounds awful." On this side, the boar snorted out a breath of air. It narrowed its eyes, aiming straight at its comrades. Von Koi had to think, but the fighting power of this boar suited him very well. Von Koi rode the boar at full speed. The pig charged swiftly. He held his cold demon sword and rushed out to confront the zombie pigs. Accordingly, Von Koi swung his sword while riding his first demon-replaced war pig, cutting down all the pigs ahead. They were blown apart by one slash from Von Koi. Then a series of system notifications appeared, announcing the successful defeat of level 1 mutated pigs, awarding 2,000 points. Without mobilizing all the manpower in the base to fight the mutant pigs, everyone here saw Von Koi single-handedly take down all the pigs. The vice captain kept exclaiming, "So strong, wow." At the scene, Von Koi was still riding the pig. He handled this new pig skillfully. He kept slashing away, cutting down every pig in his path. Yet the demon-replaced pigs remained aggressive, charging to attack him whenever they saw him. One pig ahead foolishly flew at the pig, but Von Koi's tamed pig gave it a blood spray right to the throat. Von Koi's pig was stronger than ordinary ones. One bite and the pig in front collapsed. The system announced the successful defeat of a level 1 mutated pig, awarding 2,000 points. Here, many people also adopted Von Koi's method. They firmly planted their strong shields into the ground. The team captain then ordered the remaining members, "Everyone stay alert. Hold the line tight. Shooters with ammo cover that kid. Absolutely do not let him die." Everyone charged forward in unison. "Yes, understood, Captain." Meanwhile, Von Koi sat on the newly tamed pig. He swung his sword, and the captain's group aimed and fired wherever he struck. The pigs were continuously hit by the copper bullets and Von Koi's sharp sword. After a while, all the demon-replaced pigs were defeated. They lay scattered at Von Koi's feet along with the pig he had just tamed. It sensed no danger to its master and wandered around looking for any survivors. In Von Koi's sight, he saw a group of zombies lurking near the base. He quietly said next, "As long as we deal with these killers, it will be safe. We're done with the mutant pigs. Now it's time for the zombie group waiting far ahead." They caught the strong human scent here and immediately called everyone to attack all at once. The team captain over here was very happy. He cheerfully said loudly, "After this battle, our mission will be successfully completed. We can go home to see our loved ones. Now everyone grab your weapons, and let's wipe out the monsters in front of us." After defeating the annoying pigs, everyone seemed to lighten their burdens a bit. They punched the air, happily cheering, "All right, let's go." But unexpectedly, a loud voice called out, "Wait, don't kill them!" Van Koy turned around in confusion and saw the most beautiful girl in our story. She ran up to Van Koy, turned to him, and asked, surprised, "Lohan, what's wrong?" Lohan showed a fearful expression. She was pale and drenched in sweat. At this moment, Van Koy was confused and filled with questions. Why is she reacting like that? Could it be? Two zombies in front, one male and one female. Their eyes glowed, mouths filled with sharp teeth. Their bodies had turned pale as they lunged forward. But Lohan directly greeted them, tears choking her as she said, "That's my parents. My parents." Van Koy knew there was no saving them. He shouted loudly, cutting off Lohan's words, "Lohan, don't come here. I know they are your family, but at this point it's impossible." He said coldly to her, "They now—" Just hearing this, Lohan froze completely. She was numb and dared not move. Right behind Van Koy, he sat on the mutated pig. He didn't even look at Lohan and said, "She no longer looks like the person you once knew." Captain Han then shouted loudly, commanding, "What are you thinking? There's danger over there, isn't there? Everyone grab your weapons." So they ignored Lohan, who was sad because of her parents. The group in the base followed the captain's orders. Everyone charged forward. Following the order, understood Captain, Han shouted loudly, "Follow me and kill!" Lohan felt isolated as the busy crowd rushed past her. At that moment, two zombies, Lohan's parents, Van Koy rode his war pig up over their heads. He gripped his sword tightly and looked down at both of them. The two zombies lunged to attack Van Koy. They took a running jump to bite the flesh off Van Koy. When he arrived, he jumped high, and the zombie pig crushed the two zombies, Lohan's parents. The zombies behind, seeing the wild boar leap, scattered away. Van Koy jumped to the side and landed near the roadside. He braced himself to stand steady. Van Koy stood in the middle of the battlefield. The zombies surrounded him, hungry and threatening. They started pushing him towards the center. Van Koy looked around and whispered, "I'm dead. I've run into a whole nest of zombies. This is going to be one hell of a fight." Just as he got up, another swarm of zombies rushed to attack Van Koy's spot. Van Koy glanced ahead and was instantly horrified. Immediately, two zombies charging at Van Koy were shot by the Captain Han's team. Both fell dead. Van Koy suddenly realized. He turned to see the deputy captain and a black-haired soldier. Both aimed precisely and took down two zombies. They quickly flew to Van Koy's side, Captain Han's squad plus one more soldier. Van Koy turned around very surprised. Captain Han looked at Van Koy warmly. He was very pleased with Van Koy and said, "You little punk dared to charge in alone. We're the law enforcement team here. Don't try to be a hero all by yourself." Van Koy hadn't expected these soldiers to be so brave fighting alongside him. A soldier with a close-cropped haircut happily said, "That's right, everyone charge!" The black-haired soldier also cheered, "You can't have all the rewards to yourself, kid." Van Koy looked at everyone and said, "Then let's be clear. Whoever kills who gets the credit. Don't try to compete with me." Then Van Koy shouted to attack immediately. In the chaos of battle gunfire and clashing blades echoed loudly. After 20 minutes, Van Koy was still strong. He swung and cut off a zombie's limb. Captain Han's squad also used shields to knock down several zombies. After a while, all the zombies in this area were wiped out by Van Koy and the captain's squad. They wandered around to hunt for any remaining zombies nearby. Van Koy slammed his sword into the cracked ground and said the final battle was over. He could finally breathe and sit down. Van Koy felt like a huge burden was lifted and said, "Phew. Luckily, the law enforcement team cooperated, otherwise facing so many zombies alone, I would have lost my life." After everything settled, Lohan hurried over to Van Koy, anxiously worried. "Van Koy, are you hurt? Let me treat you." Lohan had healing abilities, so she quickly restored Van Koy. A healing energy circle surrounded his arm as she loudly recited the holy light. "Yes, just a moment of healing." Van Koy felt his body stabilize. He said, "My wound is almost healed. You should go say goodbye to your parents." Hearing this, Lohan was puzzled and looked up to ask, "What?" Van Koy had deliberately let his pig crush the zombies. Lohan's parents were still trapped under the pig's massive body, continuously screaming, unaware, even when facing their daughter. After much effort, Lohan was able to see her parents, but by then they had completely changed. Lohan tearfully called out loudly to her parents. In this moment, she turned back and saw Van Koy standing beside her. She sobbed, thinking, "So he rushed out first to give me a chance to say goodbye." Van Koy held out the sword to Lohan. "Go ahead." Then Lohan took the sword from him. "Thank you." She held the sword given to her by Van Koy and slowly walked back to the two zombies, her father and mother, with slow and reluctant steps. The two no longer showed any signs of being human. Now both only sought the scent of fresh blood. They roared loudly in front of Lohan, restrained by the wild boar. Lohan gripped the sword tightly, but her hand trembled uncontrollably, tears streaming down her face. Lohan tried to stay calm. Through her tears, she said, "Mom, Dad, it's me." Van Koy nodded, worried for the young girl forced to strike her own flesh and blood. Anyone would find it hard to do. Van Koy nodded and said, "Let me do it." Lohan's whole body trembled with each wave, but she still tried to speak clearly. "My daughter is still alive, and she even found a friend to lean on. Mom and Dad, I will live well from now on." Like a miracle, the two zombies' reactions slowed. Maybe it was because Lohan's parents heard their daughter's words. The two zombies looked up at her. Lohan raised the sword high to free her parents. She was trying her hardest, gathering all her courage. Lohan said firmly, "Mom, Dad, don't worry about me anymore. It's time to end this pain." She raised the sword high and pressed down. She closed her eyes so she wouldn't see the scene. A long streak of blood splattered. It was the blood of Lohan's parents, whom she had freed with her own hand. Intended to help Lohan, but unexpectedly, she didn't even need his help. Suddenly, Van Koy was startled when the system announced, "Your undead teammate has died 3 minutes ago. You may now revive the next unit." After ending her parents with one sword stroke, Lohan accidentally killed Van Koy's zombie boar as well. She sat down, staring at the two motionless zombies lying in a large pool of blood. Van Koy then turned to look and was shocked to see Lohan had already killed his battle boar in one swift move. He felt devastated and screamed inwardly, "Brother Chu!" Lohan turned to see Van Koy's broken expression, but didn't understand why. Van Koy swallowed back his tears and whispered while crying, "This power is stronger than a level 5 undead. Yet this little girl killed it with her bare hands." Meanwhile, the captain's group gathered around the burning pile of boar corpses. Everyone shouted, "Quickly burn all these zombie pigs or we'll risk a second infection." Van Koy looked around at the now clean battlefield. There were no more zombie boars left to revive, but he still couldn't believe his warrior had died so pointlessly. Van Koy approached, shook the boar's body, and tearfully said to himself, "Brother True, wake up. Get up, take a few steps, and show me." At that moment, innocent Lohan still didn't understand. She even said to him in a choked voice, "Van Koy, these are my parents. So why do you look sadder than I do?" Van Koy looked at Lohan but didn't dare say, "Yeah, I'm not okay." Captain Han called from behind, "Is there any free mage? Someone here is injured and needs treatment." Lohan immediately turned and ran over, instructing, "Anyway, thanks for your help with my parents. You should rest first. I'll go help treat the others." Van Koy slowly stood and nodded. Okay. He considered that the law enforcement team had responsibility and limits. There were quite a few mages in the team, so they probably wouldn't be too wary of Lohan's abilities. Watching Lohan's hurried figure rushing to help, he whispered, "Besides, keeping Lohan busy for a bit might help distract her." Suddenly, a voice from nearby the system announced, "Hello, is anyone there?" Van Koy was startled and didn't know where the voice came from. He stood there looking around, trying to see who called him, but only Captain Han was standing nearby. Seeing Van Koy's strange expression, Captain Han asked curiously, "What's wrong with you?" Van Koy carefully asked Captain Han, "You didn't hear anything." Captain Han was also surprised. "Hear what?" Yeah, looking at Captain Han's face, it was clear he didn't understand. Van Koy didn't even bother to ask anything further. He turned away and said no more. "Yeah, it's nothing." Van Koy focused inwardly, thinking the connection had been restored, but it seemed only he could hear that voice. Could it be a transmission from the game interface? At that moment, that strange voice rang again inside Van Koy's head. Why is no one speaking up? Is everyone silent? Can anyone say a few words in Channel 8 just for fun? Van Koy felt annoyed. It's way too noisy. When did this game get a voice chat feature? Before long, Van Koy summoned the system interface. He looked at the system in front of him and wondered when a group channel like this had appeared. The system displayed options for party formation, private chat, and global chat. Suddenly, the system announced, "Congratulations, you have joined the Post-Apocalypse Wanderers Party." Immediately, a beam of light summoned around Van Coy, and suddenly his hair, ears, and clothes seemed to be whisked away by a vortex. In no time, he was sucked into a dazzling, strange light and transported to a new space. He logged into a strange room with a round table where many others had been brought as well. Van Coy sat in chair number 7, stunned and still not adjusted. Van Coy looked ahead and thought to himself, "Is this my consciousness space?" He saw several dark silhouettes in front of him labeled 1, 2, and 3. He guessed that the NPCs hadn't unlocked the party chat feature yet. Where did this small group of 10 come from? There was no option to leave the group or invite friends either. Then Van Coy made a more cautious gesture. All members of this group had been fixed from the start. He wondered if the others knew any more information. After thinking for a while, Van Coy decided to speak up. He looked around the table and said loudly, "May I ask what this group is about?" A person in chair number 6 holding a large item said, "What? You don't know number 7, which house are you from? Didn't your family explain why they gave you that?" Van Coy was still very surprised and asked again, "What is that? What is it?" Then he remembered and looked at the sword on the table in front of him. If the family sent anything recently, it was only the sword his eldest sister sent. Could there be a secret inside that sword? A girl sitting in chair number 5, also carrying a sword on her back, spoke in a dark tone. "Don't try to pry into other members' identities in this group. Although we are all post-apocalypse wanderers, whether we become friends or foes in the future is still unknown." Yes. Van Coy was still very skeptical, not understanding yet, and added, "May I ask what exactly is this post-apocalypse wanderer identity you all are talking about?" The woman just raised her head and was about to explain when the man in chair number 6 holding a shield quickly interrupted, I know, each post-apocalypse wanderer possesses a Titan divine weapon. 3 months ago, the Titan brain detected a dimensional anomaly descending to the mortal world, so it created 10 divine weapons and gave them to the 10 most powerful figures in Central Land. These 10 divine weapons are like a virus implanted in the game. They carry encrypted programs that constantly analyze game data to upgrade themselves. Those who possess a Titan divine weapon gain certain advantages. In other words, it's like having a submarine escort, making it hard for other players to kill you. Hearing this, Van Coy looked at the sword in his hand and inferred, so this pure extinction blade is the divine weapon assigned to the Van family. Clearly, knowing this thing greatly increased his chances of survival. Yet his father and sister gave it to him, the one who left home. The person in chair number 6 next to Van Coy noticed he was lost in thought for a long time and seemed unhappy, so he leaned in with concern and asked, "Hello, number 7, are you still alive? Why are you silent? Suddenly spacing out is very rude, you know." "Yes." Van Coy heard it all, but was just unsettled. Then he gathered his calm, looked up, and replied, "Thanks, I'm listening. Is everyone in the group in the Middle East? How's the situation there? Are the great clans okay?" The man at number 6 made a throat-cutting gesture with his hand and said, "Tai Dan already gave a warning early on. The great clans have all summoned their disciples back from outside. So why aren't you in the Middle East? Right now, all the great clans are safe except for the old master of the Ta family, who unfortunately turned into a zombie and was directly killed by his own son in the name of justice." Hearing this, Van Coy finally breathed a sigh of relief, closed his eyes, and replied, "I see." Thinking about it, it seems Van Ra probably doesn't have any big problems. Then the man at number 6 said, "Actually, I joined the group to ask if anyone knows what attribute the distribution rate refers to. Mine is only 10%. How about you guys?" The woman in the shadows didn't say anything, lowering her head with a somewhat thoughtful expression. "Yes," Van Coy answered immediately. "I'm also at 10%. The woman in seat number 5 just gently turned away and gave a simple uh-huh. The man in seat number 6 said, "So this is a unanimous figure. The system doesn't explain what it does either. It's really disappointing." Then everyone looked around and the man added, "Brothers, I'm logging off first. If anyone gets news, share it early." And just like that, the conversation ended quickly. Van Coy also returned to reality, holding his sword, standing in front of his dead zombie pig. After going through this, he thought, this conversation came completely out of nowhere, and these are people who are all wary of each other. We don't even know if what's said is true or false. But one thing's certain, the Tai Dan Divine Artifact is part of the game, and its effect might be beyond what I imagined. Something that cool, could it possibly carry some kind of super-intelligent system? At that moment, a swirling beam of light appeared in the space. It manifested a strange spirit beast. At first glance, it looked cute and had 2 wings just like a tiny dragon. As soon as it appeared, it said, "Finally, you've discovered me. You're not that foolish, huh?" Van Koy was startled by this and then burst out laughing loudly. "Wow, having this plan is seriously so cool." Then suspiciously, Van Koy said, "How do you stand so proudly without anyone else noticing? What if someone else sees you as a target?" The spirit beast cheerfully replied, "Not everyone has the right to meet me. Only the owner of the Tai Dan Divine Artifact has this special honor." Then it flew up and circled a few times. Van Koy looked back and asked, "So you're the intelligence core called Tai Dan?" The creature answered, "What are you thinking? With your current strength, you can't even control the core." It made a cocky and bold gesture like a real player. "Let me introduce myself a bit. I am a fragment of the Tai Dan intelligence. You can call me the Ancestor." Well, Van Koy had to bow here. The creature kept talking, but he said nothing, thinking sharply to himself. Ancestor makes sense. Tai Dan is the savior of all humanity. The core must be inside the Middle East military headquarters. Van Koy still kept a polite and bright expression toward the Ancestor, but now, given how dangerous things are, "Can you give me a little golden finger? After all, if I die, you and the divine artifact will be left wandering outside." It replied, "The golden finger already lit your way early on. Otherwise, do you think your skills and talents really came from luck?" Then it flew higher, releasing a strange storm-like aura. It continued, "Right now I'm still trying to analyze the game rules, but before the official start of the Apocalypse game, the world rules are incomplete and my power is limited. Until then, host, rely on yourself to survive. Keep it up." After saying this, it vanished right before Van Koy's eyes. He watched it go and muttered, "This system doesn't seem very reliable. Yeah, looks like to explain more info, I'll have to wait until tomorrow." The official start of the Apocalypse game is finally here. At this point, Lohan and Captain Hang ran over to him. Lohan called out, "Van Koy!" After helping Captain Han tend to the wounded soldiers here, she ran over excitedly and asked, "Why did you run out just now?" Van Koy said, "Nothing, you're busy." Finished. Captain Han approached Van Koy and replied on behalf of Lohan. "Earlier, she helped our enforcement team with something important, treating a seriously injured team member." Lohan leaned against Van Koy and said, "No trouble at all, it was a small thing." Captain Hang then expressed his sincerity and asked, "What are your plans? If you don't know where to go, you can join our enforcement team." Van Koy politely declined. "Thank you for your kindness, Captain Han, but I plan to stay in the city." Van Koy had just finished speaking when Lohan grabbed his hand tightly against her large chest, blushing and shouting, "Stop showing off. I'll go with you wherever you go, I'll follow." Captain Hang also started assuming they were a couple. "If you two are that bold, I won't force it. Actually, the city walls are good. There are many zombies inside the city, so outside is probably safer." Then the squad leader handed Van Koy a small car key. He said, "But relying on just your 2 legs, even by tomorrow, you won't be able to get out of the city. We have a car. It should be enough for you to drive out of the city. Consider this a gift to thank you for killing the zombie pig for us earlier and saving so many people." He helped Captain Hang once, and unexpectedly he generously gifted a motorcycle. Van Koy looked out and said, "Captain Hang, you give us a vehicle, but what about yourself?" Captain Han turned and smiled faintly, saying, "I'll go with my team members living and retreating together." Then he turned and walked away, waving goodbye without looking back. Ahead were Captain Han's teammates. He said, "Be careful, you two. Next time we meet, don't turn into monsters, or it'll be very hard to fight." Van Koy and Lohan felt Captain Han's generosity and kindness. Both smiled as they watched him leave, feeling the warmth of this dry man. Then Lohan turned to Van Koy and asked Van Koy, "Why did you refuse Captain Hang just now? Wouldn't it be better to act with the enforcement team than to go solo?" "Yes," Van Koy said. "That's not necessarily true." He thought about the human cluster from earlier and murmured, "The system said the game rules are incomplete. After players arrive, there might be more anomalies. The more crowded places are less safe. Lohan's home is no longer accessible. It's better to hide somewhere less populated for a while. Wait until the world stabilizes before going to the central area." Then Van Koy turned to ask Lohan, "Do you know the exact location of the farm where your mother buys vegetables?" Lohan immediately replied, "Ah, I know it. I've passed by a few times. It's somewhat familiar." "Yes. Van Coy heard this and walked ahead, teasing. You wouldn't give me a fake address to trick me into going to a relative's place, would you? Lohan was startled and flustered. Van Coy, if you're capable, then don't go. Van Coy tossed the motorcycle key in his hand and said, Let's go. Let's go. Let's find the gift Captain Han left for us first. After a moment, the two had moved to the motorcycle that Captain Han had gifted them. Yes. Van Coy stood in front of it, whispering, This motorcycle is really the gift Captain Han left for us. Right in front of Van Coy was a powerful warhorse, something hard to buy with money in normal times. It was truly something that would make any man's heart race wildly. Yes. Van Coy looked at it with bright eyes and had to exclaim, It's really handsome. Quickly, the lights turned on, the motorcycle system started, and the engine roared powerfully. Yes, Van Coy was seated on the bike and Lohan was ready right behind him. Sitting on the new warhorse, he joyfully said, The feel of the handle, the cooling ability, the smoothness. It really is the dream bike for any man. Lohan didn't understand any of these things. She sat behind, crossed her arms, looked down at the bike and whispered, It's just a flying bike, nothing special yet. Van Coy is more enthusiastic about this bike than about me. Then Van Coy revved the throttle hard, wind rushing wildly behind. He shouted loudly, Ready to go! Then Van Coy gripped the clutch tightly and sped off the wind fierce, Lohan's hair flying everywhere. Van Coy was very happy experiencing this for the first time. She immediately clung tightly to Van Coy, holding on out of fear. Lohan shouted, Hey, slow down a bit. But Van Coy was even more excited, completely ignoring Lohan's feelings. He kept pushing harder, the stronger the better, then shouted, Hoo-hoo, take off! Very quickly, Van Coy and Lohan had traveled through many paths. They passed through a field where the crops had withered because no one was watering them anymore. Van Coy sped along every stretch of road. He noticed that the alleys had changed a lot and were deserted, no one passing by. Lohan, too scared of the speed, kept pressing her body tightly against Van Coy. Very soon he stopped the bike at a large house. Lohan got off, looked up, and said, Van Coy, we've arrived. This is the farm owner's house. My mother and I used to come here often. Lohan was about to go inside first when Van Coy pulled her hand and firmly said, Wait, something's not right here. In the distance, there were some devices that looked like robots. They were lurking closer, and more of them kept coming. The whole group gathered near Van Coy and Lohan. These were creatures covered in blood, but not zombies, and they approached Van Coy and Lohan. One representative of them could be seen more clearly. They seemed to be controlled by someone, their bodies dripping with blood. Their two eyes on top of their heads glowed with energy. Lohan said, You must have lived in the city too long, huh? Nowadays, technology is very advanced. Traditional farming is almost entirely replaced by machines. At this farm, one person is enough to control all the robots working. The villagers just come here to enjoy life. Van Coy furrowed his brows and said, Killing people is also for enjoying life. Lohan was startled and blankly asked, What? He looked toward the approaching robots and said, There's a smell of blood in the wind. Besides, look closely, each robot is covered in blood. After realizing the situation, Lohan glanced around and saw a crowd of robots taller than humans had gathered and surrounded both of them and the motorcycle. Van Coy immediately summoned a sword in his hand. Confidently, he said, Luckily, these industrial robots are strong but usually not armed. At least we don't have to face weapons. Lohan quickly summoned a small blade in her hand. Now she was different from before, stronger in spirit, nodding slightly. Yeah, they were ready for a good fight. Suddenly, a small drone flew toward Van Coy and Lohan from the front. Both immediately noticed it. The small drone's two eyes lit up. It projected a laser-like beam sweeping strongly in front of Van Coy and Lohan. It locked onto a target in the drone's sight. Lohan behind fearfully called out to Van Coy. Van Coy stepped in front of Lohan and said, It's okay, these small robots only have basic functions, they don't threaten us. I guess their owner is somewhere behind watching us. Suddenly, a man's voice came out from the drone's tiny speaker, Then get lost and the woman stays. But the drone was trying to snatch Van Coy's valuables. He showed obvious annoyance and shouted loudly. Without hesitation, Van Coy grabbed the drone flying in front of him. It was caught tightly in Van Coy's hand and played with. Then Van Coy tormented it thoroughly. The drone buzzed inside his palm, warning system damaged. Lohan was stunned by Van Coy's attitude. A moment later, in Van Coy's hand was the drone tangled in a mess of wires and devices. He said, Just controlling a tiny agricultural drone and it dares to try to steal, and it even tells me to get lost, I'll smash you easily. System notification, rapid creature control device destroyed, gain 10 points. Van Coy was startled. Huh, Even this scrap heap gives points. Does it have a boss creature? You can guess that the current situation very likely means the farm owner is just like the female assassin from before, transformed into a boss while still controlling the swarm of robots surrounding him. Van Koy smiled faintly with satisfaction, a small toy that still earned 10 points. If we clear out this entire robot farm, who knows, I might jump straight to the top. Thinking that, he turned to look at Lo Han. Behind opportunities come with risks. Now we reveal ourselves while the enemy stays hidden. If he controls the robots to ambush Lo Han, it would be dangerous. Lo Han immediately realized Van Koy's thought. She stepped closer and patted his shoulder. Van Koy, you don't need to worry about me. Having chosen to follow you, I've already prepared myself mentally. I want to be your teammate and protect your back. Even if I die, I absolutely won't become a burden or hold you back. Yes, Van Koy said, don't open your mouth or you'll die. With that, Will, if she doesn't live to old age, it'd be a shame. Saying that, he quickly crushed the bee robot in his hand. Then Van Koy handed Lo Han a small gun and said, here, take this. If any robots come later, just shoot freely. Lo Han took it and asked curiously, only snipers can use harmony weapons, but this one doesn't seem to have any limits. Van Koy, what exactly is this? What he handed her showed clearly on the special prop system, charging at 70% usable status. Van Koy stepped in front of Lo Han to confront the robots slowly approaching them. He said it's an electromagnetic pulse device equipped in robot farms. The farm has basic artificial intelligence. It's large in size, and once out of control, it's hard to restrain with human strength. So the farms are equipped with props to prevent unexpected situations like this electric gun hidden in the tail of the messenger bee. Don't underestimate it because it's small. One shot can paralyze the biggest robot here, but it consumes a lot of energy and doesn't affect humans, so remember to use it carefully. Lo Han was surprised and said, that's powerful. I didn't expect you to have stuff like this. Van Koy laughed, long and handsomely said, I used to be an outstanding student at the Middle East English Academy. These mechanical theory basics are just simple knowledge. Van Koy took the sword and stepped forward with more spirit. There's a tough battle ahead, so you should protect yourself first. Lo Han was stronger too, holding the weapon he gave her, and nodded firmly. Just then a little bee flew by. Van Koy looked up and noticed the bee fly over and land on a robot's head. It said, Kid, the toy gun in your hands can only shoot once every 10 minutes at most. Are you really planning to rely on it to kill me for points? Lo Han noticed and said, that's the sound from earlier that startled Van Koy as well. Kill for points. The bee continued sarcastically, clarifying, don't you know? Do you really think this crappy game was made by the government to save the world and level up by killing monsters? They use points to hang people. The goal is just so the damn players who come out of nowhere can enjoy it while the real bloodshed and killing happen here. Then the tone got more terrifying. The bee continuously shook and moved fiercely, saying once you understand the organizer's purpose, this game becomes much simpler. Not only monster killers get points, but monsters killing people, even humans killing each other, all can earn points to survive. Realizing this, Van Koy's gaze grew more uncomfortable and determined as he looked at the robot in front. The bee right before Van Koy continued buzzing, just a small village like this can earn thousands of points. Can't anyone think of this, ha 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 ha. Hearing this, Lo Han couldn't control her emotions, biting her lip with a scared face, sweating profusely. The whole village was killed. Really demons. Van Koy pondered, and it's just the beginning. Less than a day, and they've already figured out how to kill people and steal points. Truly a ruthless scumbag. At first I hesitated whether to confront that scrap heap. Now I'm standing in front of a robot several heads taller than me. Van Koy held the sword proudly and walked closer, then said, Hey, even if you kill an entire village, you'll only get a few thousand points, just a minor character not worth mentioning. He gave a determined, scary smile and continued, I am ranked 3rd on the leaderboard. My lowest score is still 10,000 points more than yours. Lo Han worriedly shouted, Van Koy, what are you planning to do? What if this maniac targets you? Van Koy remained calm, giving a slight smile. That's exactly the effect I want. Yes. Van Koy feared nothing, pointing at himself and looking up. Don't you want to try killing me to see if you can get my points? The bee's eyes lit up as it responded, I believe whatever I hear. But the 3rd rank is anonymous. How can you prove that person is you? Van Koy slammed his sword down hard. I got a temporary 10x multiplier in a random pack and earned this many info points. He swung his sword sharply, splitting 2 bees on the robot's head as he spoke. Just look at the leaderboard. If third rank hasn't increased by 10 points, you'll know immediately. Instantly in Van Koy's cold gaze, the system notification appeared. Destroying level 1 controlled creatures. Grants 10 points multiplied by 10. The person in the shadows controlling the robots was watching the leaderboard too. His voice faltered as he said, "It changed. It really changed. Could this guy actually be third rank? Nearly 20,000 points this time. I'm going to get rich." This guy isn't scared. Instead, he got even more excited when facing Van Koy, then pointed and pressed the enter button on the system saying happily, "All machines obey orders, eliminate this intruding man completely." At the same time, the machines across the entire farm gathered in greater numbers, responding in unison. Yes. Van Koy estimated it was very dangerous, saying, "You hide first." Lohan quickly dashed off, then turned back to say, "Okay, but you have to be careful." Lohan left, leaving only Van Koy and his warhorse. He stood firm with his sword, waiting for the robots to rush and attack him all at once. Van Koy moved swiftly, slashing back and forth continuously at the robots trying to attack him. Van Koy's eyes flashed as he thought, "They want to use these robots to wear down my skill. 6 and steal points. This mini-boss is really cunning," but Van Koy jumped up and struck each robot with a lightning aura shouting, "I will never fall into your trap." Then he jumped again, cutting off another robot. Left, right, and behind Van Koy, he struck so fast that wherever his sword hit, the robots fell apart. He didn't give any of them a chance to touch him at all. Van Koy slashed through a line of charging robots, sending them flying and breaking them into pieces. Lohan hid in a corner below, seeing the positive signs, happily resting her head. That's great. One robot was bolder than the others. It clenched its fist, gathering energy, aiming straight for the back of Van Koy's neck, and launched an attack. Van Koy felt the oppressive force rushing at him. Before the punch landed, his body was violently thrown, slammed close to the ground, arms and legs flailing. His holy sword dropped and he was immobilized. Van Koy. Hit by one strike from the robot. Van Koy lay face down on the ground, thinking, "I'm done." That hit didn't completely destroy their energy cores. The robot's controller, noticing Van Koy on the ground, said excitedly, "Flesh and blood body dares to dream of fighting machines." He controlled the robot to raise its hand in celebration, "I claim your score speed." Suddenly, his black eyes widened and he shouted loudly, looking at the screen. Van Koy lies face down and the robot's body emits unusual lightning energy through the screen. He wondered what was going on. Then looking closer, he realized Lohan was that woman. It turned out Lohan used the gun Van Koy gave her to shoot the robot that had knocked him down. She was no longer timid, stepping forward to protect her teammate herself. Lohan pressed her lips tightly, trying to stay calm. Lohan has successfully destroyed one robot. The remaining robot turned to look at her system alert. This prop has 40% energy left. Lohan was very panicked at this moment. Using one shot cost 30% energy. Looking at the robot in front of her, it was still very strong, she whispered, "But right now I can't afford to worry that much anymore." Lohan could only use the remaining energy in her small gun and slowly retreated. Suddenly, she heard a strange noise. Lohan turned around in surprise and shouted loudly someone was stepping out. He wore flip-flops and walked boldly, growling, "What a nuisance." He was the boss of this farm, wearing shorts and a tank top. His whole body had turned into a zombie, but he still had the ability to speak and think like a human. In his hand was a butcher's knife. As he walked, he said, "I have to handle this myself. Later, I'll torment you to bits, but first I have to take that brat's life." This boss was clearly targeting Van Koy, lying on the ground. Lohan weakly resisted him with only a small gun in her hand. She pointed at the boss and shouted again, "Don't come near Van Koy or I'll shoot!" But he didn't pay any attention to Lohan's words. He just held the butcher's knife and moved closer to Van Koy. He didn't even look back at Lohan and said while walking, "That gun of yours can't do anything to me. Focus on yourself and don't waste energy worrying about him." As he approached, a robot suddenly came running from somewhere, jumped on him, grabbing his arms and legs to ambush Lohan. She just realized in time immediately. Lohan turned to the attacker, closed her eyes tightly, and fired back, Don't come here." The robot that was about to attack Lohan suddenly froze, system alert showing only 10% energy left. Lohan's face was drenched in sweat. She looked at her small gun and feared inside, "It's over, out of ammo, have to get Van Koy to escape quickly." But looking at the current situation, Van Koy was motionless, and the boss was eagerly holding the knife near him. But now it was too late. The boss was very pleased, walking and laughing. Heh heh, go die. So it turned out Van Koy had only been pretending to lure the boss outside. He immediately opened his eyes wide and looked back. At this moment, the boss realized and was shocked, mouth agape. "You were pretending." Van Koy immediately stood up and said, "Of course." So Van Koy had successfully lured the boss outside. He turned around, faced the boss directly, and said, "Do you really think those rags can stop me?" At the same time, Van Koy threw the small sword in his hand, forcefully lunging forward. The small sword flew at lightning speed, aimed straight at the boss's face. The boss couldn't react in time and could only retreat and shout loudly. Then a powerful move erupted in the battlefield as he dashed forward fiercely. Lohan also feared the explosion happening nearby. The sword flying right in front of the boss stopped. He faced the tip of the small sword. Van Koy was surprised as the system alerted that the owner was in serious danger and activated the automatic protection program. This was a notification from the boss's largest robot, which simply destroyed the attacking sword aimed at its owner with a light squeeze. The boss was unharmed. Behind him was a huge support, the large robot spinning its barrel, detecting enemy position and immediately firing energy bullets. On the large robot's two shoulders, it fired several terrifying shots continuously, all simultaneously targeting Van Koy. These all targeted Van Koy tightly. He took advantage of them being close to jump up. All shots aimed straight at the ground and exploded. Van Koy reckoned he couldn't withstand the overwhelming firepower of this enemy. He retreated to Lohan's side and shouted, "The car is very fast." Lohan and Van Koy skillfully got on the vehicle while the boss's gunfire continued chasing them. Van Koy sat on the motorcycle and hurriedly rode off with the beauty. Lohan sat behind the bike, worried about him breathlessly, asked, "Are you okay?" Van Koy drove while turning back. "I'm fine, that old cunning snake. If I hadn't purposely exposed a flaw, it wouldn't have been so easy to lure him out of the control room." He thought inside, "I just didn't expect the opponent to have the 4 deadly poisons. I almost lost my life." But the boss didn't let Van Koy and Lohan go easily. He controlled his huge robot to chase after them, destroying every house they passed. Lohan looked back in fear, holding on to Van Koy, and asked, "The boss has sat on top of the big robot's brain. He's directly controlling it and chasing after us." This guy was very smug. "The automatic defense system of Lao 2 is the best in the world. If you still dare to dream of ambushing me so Lao 2 can catch you, it'd be strange if I didn't tear you apart like a soccer ball." He kept attacking the back of the vehicle carrying Lohan and Van Koy, but unfortunately for him, every shot he fired missed. Van Koy, carrying the beauty, sped away. The speed was too fast. Lohan held tightly onto Van Koy and shouted, "It must be the army's deadly aura, but how did that thing appear on this farm?" Van Koy wanted to focus on keeping both of them safe for now. He skillfully weaved through the roads, then said to avoid for now and figure things out later. Lohan still held on from behind. This wasn't good. Getting out of the village into an open area made it easier for the guns lock-on to fail. Yes, Van Koy miscalculated. He narrowed his eyes and whispered, "No need to get out. Just find a place to hide." So after driving a bit, he looked ahead and saw a big house, thinking to himself, "Ah, got it." It turned out what Van Koy was focusing on was a dog lying barely alive on the road. He exclaimed, "Sure enough, I guessed right." In such a short time, the mutated animal corpses in the village definitely couldn't have been cleaned up yet. Van Koy stretched out his hand. He used his necromancer resurrection power. Immediately, the energy seized the corpse of the dog in front of him. Then the dog transformed, becoming stronger than a human. It grew sharp fangs and stood up aggressively. Following Van Koy's command, the system summoned the spirit dog. Van Koy then continued riding his warhorse, carrying the beauty as they rushed forward. Now he had an additional dog companion. It ran alongside Van Koy in the same direction. Lohan looked curiously at the dog for a long time. She realized Van Koy wasn't panicking and running blindly, but was actually looking for a corpse. But can just one dog really hold back those huge monsters behind? The boss, controlling his giant robot, kept chasing Van Koy relentlessly. He moved while shouting, "Don't run. Haha, kid, weren't you confident just now? If you're brave, don't run." Up ahead, Lohan urged Van Koy. He had caught up. Reaching a spot, Van Koy decided to stop the vehicle. He turned the steering. His hellhound also turned, following its master. He shouted loudly, That's right, Big Black, it's your turn to fight now. Quickly, Van Koy's Big Black dashed forward. It jumped from the ground, then sprayed a stream of bright golden urine from its penis onto the giant robot in the blazing sun. It's called the golden urine water. The boss inside the control center looked at the shimmering golden liquid with horror. The dog's urine splashed onto the giant robot. Since it was protected by armor outside, it wasn't harmed at first. But even more surprising, the dog jumped right into the glass in front of the boss. It used its penis to block the boss's entire field of vision. Annoyed, he awkwardly controlled the robot arm to shoo the dog away. Damn it, my view is completely blocked. Why does the smell of dog pee smell so strong? His giant robot was struggling. Alert filtration system detected a large amount of strong acidic liquid. Then corrosion kept eating away at his robot's joints all over the body. He angrily shouted, "Damn dog, get off me now!" Meanwhile, the whole giant robot's body was rapidly corroded by the dog's golden urine. It clawed at the glass with both paws, and the boss could do nothing because of the small dog. At the same time, Van Koy charged forward with his sword. He said right now, Van Koy jumped up and struck the giant robot hard. Dark, fierce energy burst from his body. Inside the robot, the boss was hopeless. He gaped his mouth and looked ahead. What is that? Van Koy looked down from above. The robot's 2 legs were chopped off. It could no longer stand and fell backward. Van Koy's black fist jumped onto the robot's legs. The boss was also thrown off inside the cockpit. The giant robot announced joint damage detected. The control cabin activated intelligent emergency cooling mode. The air circulation intake had to switch to the injured knee joint position. At this point, the boss inside shouted angrily, "Damn it!" He was furious. Right after Van Koy ordered Big Black continue your performance. From the spot where the robot's leg was severed, Big Black took a running start and jumped very high. Then it landed firmly on the ground and growled, looking ahead. The dog now grinned wickedly. What was it planning? Once again, Big Black wanted to mark its territory. It stood there raising a leg and urinated again onto the robot's leg joints. The robot's system alarm detected a large amount of corrosive gas. The anti-intrusion program has been activated. The cockpit window will automatically open after 3 seconds. It's so automatic it's like squeezing the boss's balls. Then he had no choice but to scream, "Don't open the door, don't open the door." But since the system is set up that way, there's no avoiding it. Immediately the boss was thrown outside. Then the giant black dog, upon seeing the boss, lunged out like it hadn't eaten for 7 days. The robot system again announced detecting danger factors and activated automatic defense mode. That means if the robot shoots the dog, the boss will also be affected. This guy is even scared under attack from the mad dog. His own weapon. Don't shoot or explode, how can you? The stupid artificial intelligence doesn't understand human commands. Turn off the defense system for me. Command from the owner recognized. In this situation, the boss's giant robot had now stopped moving, missing both legs, and lying on the ground. And he was being dominated by Van Koy's giant black dog. He hurried over worriedly. Van Koy spoke softly. At first, I thought I'd have to fight this pile of scrap. By then, he had stepped closer. Van Koy proudly held the sword, emitting a strong aura, and said, "You turned off its defense program already. Now it's much easier for me." Van Koy pressed his gaze firmly and said, "Unexpected right. The intelligent system you were proud of is actually the key reason for your final defeat." The guy was in pain. He was dominated by the dog and had to watch his pile of scrap with regret. No, don't. Right in front of the boss, his most devoted giant robot was being stabbed hard by Van Koy's sword. It was being destroyed by him. The robot continuously emitted warning sounds. Core component damaged. Warning! The guy looked desperate, his voice no longer able to scream, "My mechanical machine!" "Oh no, my mechanical machine. System announces strong enemy defeated. You received 6,000 points. Van Koy stood on top of the huge robot. Its body now only good for selling as scrap. Yes, Van Koy now sets his sights on the second target. He glared at the boss and continued, "Next is your turn." The guy restrained by the giant black dog now had only a useless body left. He kept screaming and begging, "No, don't kill me! Don't kill me, I don't want to die." But Van Koy coldly held his sword and approached. He decisively raised his sword high. "Those who live here don't necessarily want to die, but you still killed them." At this, the guy had nothing left to retort. He clenched his eyes and with tears said a few words. Yes, Van Koy added. Using logic is much more effective than using land to persuade people. This is the truth. Immediately after, a spray of bright red blood shot into the air. It looked just like a volcanic eruption. System announces strong enemy eliminated. You received 1,000 points. 10 times total score accumulated 42, 8, and 60 points. Yes. Van Koy firmly held his sword standing before the boss's corpse. After eliminating the boss, he sighed. I wanted to keep a low profile at first, but if I'm not careful, I become the #1 man. System announces congratulations on reaching the top of the leaderboard. Current score is first place. Current rankings as follows. Van Koy 42, 860 points. Second is Vu Van Ton with 25, 870 points. Third is Phuong Kang with 24, 980 points. System further reports, maintain this rank and you will receive an exclusive title linked with NPCs at the end of the startup phase. Keep up the good work. Van Koy looked at his achievement and brightened up. He said, this feeling is really amazing. Lohan just finished checking her system display. She excitedly ran over to Van Koy and called out frantically, Oh my God, Van Koy, look! The world is in chaos. On the world system leaderboard, many accounts. Here's a comment from the account Vuong Beitong saying, quick look, that anonymous third-place rank just suddenly jumped by 20,000 points, leaving Ngi Trong Kat Ha and Phien Tung Quan far behind. Account Taekwa commented, no matter who is #1, we just hope someone can stand up to save the world. Lee Trung Hua also spoke up. How can the fate of all humanity be entrusted to a brat? I disagree. An account named My Thun said, there are only 15 hours left until the startup phase ends. The fate of humanity still remains unknown. Will the true savior actually appear? And Van Koy thought not only in the world, but even within the secret Daily Walkers group some people are uneasy. Someone in his team asked, is the anonymous person who just climbed to #1 on the leaderboard in our group? At that moment, Van Koy suddenly joined that group. He once again transmitted himself inside to participate in the conversation of this mysterious group. And everyone here appeared simultaneously, no one was absent. A man with #2 stood up straight and looked around saying, after this startup phase of the game ends like this, we will all have to face unknown dangers. If you are in my group, I hope you can help me protect humanity. Your choice will greatly affect the fate of all humanity on Lam Tin. He deliberately said this for the mysterious figure Van Koy to hear. He thought in this small group each person's identity is strictly kept secret. But #1 and #2 must be Vu Van Ton and Phuong Kang. After all, those two are the most powerful people in the alliance. It's just unclear who ranks first. He looked at the people marked #1 and 2 on the leaderboard. Their names were never anonymous. Probably to gather people's loyalty. As long as those two names still exist, humanity can hold on to hope. Then he looked again at the person ranked #2. But now an anonymous person suddenly appeared and surpassed even the Alliance icons. No wonder #2 is so anxious. Then member #5, the girl in the shadows, spoke up. We are all certified saviors fighting the invaders to protect Lam Tin. This should be something everyone wholeheartedly believes. This is also the consensus of all humanity on Lam Tin. Yes, he thought quietly that some people in this group want to be heroes. A man with purple hair raised both hands and said, so everyone is actually just a normal person. Is such a heavy responsibility really necessary? Everyone has their own fate. I don't want to be a savior at all. It's just putting my own life in danger. Yes, Van Koy heard this and thought quietly, some just want to be ostriches. A long-haired man who looked very polite and dignified gently propped his chin and said, courage is the anthem of humanity. As long as a group of 10 people holding the spirit unite to form a strong army, then not only can they counterattack the players, but even possibly take control of the game. After hearing all these words from those present, Van Koy internally assessed that some people use the title of savior, but have their own agendas. Rushing to take sides without understanding the invaders' rules is just asking for death. No need to decide a position for now. Just let things unfold. So he logged out of his group of 10. Now Van Koy turned to Lohan. Lohan, stop watching the World Channel. Get ready, we keep fighting. Lohan ran over to Van Koy and asked, but we just finished a battle. Aren't we going to rest a bit? But Van Koy said immediately, there are more important things than rest. Inside a large villa, a brightly lit room had the voices of Lohan and Van Koy. Try this, it's all natural product. It really smells good. Yes, after a full meal cooked by Lohan herself, Van Koy leaned back in enjoyment and said, just realized this is our first meal since the game began. Next to him, the big black dog wagged its tail continuously. Luohan also felt relaxed. satisfied with the full feeling, I swear I'll never diet again. Luo Han wiped some food off her mouth, happily looked ahead, then said, "Thanks to you today, I earned quite a few points." Recalling the moments from today, Van Khoi stood behind Luo Han, guiding her step by step. "From now on, if you want to fight side by side with me, you have to be strong. These points are already available. Not taking them would be a waste." "Yes, Luo Han." Then she pulled hard on the weapon in her hand to attack a zombie. She struck hard while shouting loudly, I got it! I will try my best." System notification defeated a level 1 assassin monster, earned 10 points. System notification again, congratulations, you have entered the points leaderboard. Currently ranked 856th. As soon as Luo Han saw the result, she was overjoyed. "Awesome, I've made it onto the leaderboard." Back in reality, Luo Han watched Van Khoi pet his beloved dog and blushed, thinking deeply. He says it's for training, but Van Khoi has actually spent the whole time protecting me. I must be the easiest person in the world to get on the leaderboard. Thinking this, she stretched her arms to relax. Luo Han intentionally spoke loudly, running away all day covered in blood and sweat. Might as well take a hot shower too. While washing her hands, she kept an eye on Van Khoi. He saw her and casually said, "There's a certain charm. That kind of silly happiness actually fits the apocalypse era." She responded, "If you want to shower right in front of a grown man like me, you should at least be cautious." But Luo Han was very bold and shot back, "Be cautious of assassins, or cautious of you. If it's you, I don't need to be cautious at all. But if it's the dog, then maybe." Then Luo Han placed her 2 firm breasts by hand. They seemed really full. At this moment, Luo Han twisted her body. She turned around, blushing. "The apocalypse is so dangerous, it's true that 2 people are safer. Do you want to shower with me?" Yet Van Khoi coldly and decisively replied, "No need." Luo Han pushed further, wagging her finger. "Come here, don't be shy." But Van Khoi didn't bother. He looked down at his sharp-toothed zombie dog and rubbed its head. "Who's shy? I just want to shower with Big Black. Today it made a big contribution. Later I'll do a spa session with you for fun." She was so annoyed she was fuming. Van Khoi would rather shower with a dog than with her. She sulked in frustration and rolled her eyes. So Luo Han pouted and went into the bathroom, then slammed the door shut. Van Khoi startled. He looked over and sighed deeply, thinking, "I'm not a monk who doesn't need women. But at a critical moment like this, I can't waste energy foolishly. Besides, most of Luo Han's words are just jokes. When the apocalypse turns tragic, she just wants to smile to hide the pain of losing her parents." Scene shifts to inside the bathroom where Luo Han alone clearly looked sad. She was trying hard to hold back tears. At this moment, Luo Han lowered her face into the bathwater, pondering deeply. "In less than a day, my life has been completely turned upside down. My parents are gone. There's no home to return to. I don't even know what the future holds. Luckily, Van Khoi is still by my side. Actually, if I can rely on him and we can walk on together through the apocalypse, that would be good. But he's always so cold. Does he have no feelings for me?" Luo Han thought even more. She touched her 2 breasts with both hands and looked down, feeling a bit insecure. Actually, breasts are just breasts. Dumplings are dumplings. Peaches are delicious peaches. Why doesn't he like me? Or is it because I'm too big that no one likes me? Or maybe I'll pretend not to shower later and see how he reacts. Exactly 10 minutes later, the bathroom door opened. Steam from the hot bath water spilled out. Luo Han decided, as she said. She stepped out, wrapped a towel loosely around herself, happily pushed her hair back, and walked out. Van Khoi. I've finished showering. Unexpectedly, when she got there, Luo Han saw Van Khoi fast asleep, hugging his dog on the sofa. He must have been very tired today. Van Khoi was already in a deep sleep. She immediately felt disappointed. She was furious inside. Straight guys really waste an old lady's charm. You go live with your dog. One night passed as the faint light from the open door shone in. This is what woke Lo Hun up. She squinted. Then Lo Hun hurriedly sat up and looked toward the light coming through the door that woke her. Lo Hun opened the door and saw Van Khoi tying bags outside the big house. She asked, "Van Khoi, why are you up so early? It's only 5 o'clock. Van Khoi was already awake and had changed clothes. He had also showered clean. He was sitting tying small bags and then turned to answer her. "Awake already." "Perfect timing. Come help me out." Lo-hun saw what Von Koi was doing but didn't understand, so she asked, "Hey, what are you packing for?" "Yes," Von Koi said as he tied the bag in his hand. "Get ready, we're heading to Trungdo." Von Koi's quick and risky decision startled Lo-hun. "What? Von Koi, aren't we staying at the farm? There's plenty of food here, and besides, it's dangerous outside. Who knows if Trungdo is any safer?" When Von Koi heard this, he raised 3 fingers and said firmly, "I've already thought about your concerns. I have 3 reasons for choosing to go to Trungdo. First, although the farm is safe, staying here isn't a long-term plan. Supplies here will only last us a week. Second, the main game officially starts in 6 hours. When the players land, there will definitely be even harsher massacres, and moving the base afterward will be even more dangerous. That's all." Lo-hun turned pale with fear. Von Koi summoned his sword in his hand and said, "Third, my home is in Trungdo. Whether I live or die, I must go there." Holding the sword, he thought about confirming the safety of his family. "Still, no contact with my sister, don't know how things are at home, don't know where she got this gear or why she gave it to me. I have to ask clearly." Hearing this, Lo-hun blurted out, "Your home is in Trungdo. Are you some rich heir out experiencing life or something? If I go with you, will your childhood fiancé get jealous and try to harm me?" This is just Lo-hun having watched too many Korean romance dramas. She shivered with chills just hearing that. What should I do now? What should I do? Von Koi looked out, not knowing what else to say to this woman. He thought to himself, this girl's imagination is running wild. She's already created 100 dramatic soap operas in a few minutes, but she's right. I really do have a fiancé with no feelings at all. So Von Koi quickly corrected himself. Stop imagining nonsense. Now that you're awake, come help out. The earlier we leave, the better. Lo-hun was startled outside in the yard, this time going far. So Von Koi and Lo-hun chose a terrain vehicle parked outside and said, "Finally, almost ready." The two Lo-hun and Von Koi, after showering and changing into new clothes, both looked brighter and more beautiful. They also had a companion, a zombie dog, sitting on the truck bed full of supplies, barking, "Woof, woof." Von Koi looked toward the trunk and said, "Water and dry food are packed. Spare fuel and camping sleeping bags are all prepared. 2 hover vehicles with high mobility, quite flexible. Who knows when they'll come in handy, so we brought them too." So everything was ready. Von Koi and Lo-hun got in the car. He gripped the steering wheel, looking confidently ahead. "Let's go." Von Koi picked up his phone and started the timer. "Only 61 minutes left. We have to make the most of our time and get going." The system announced, "Congratulations to all NPCs who have survived until now. To make the game more interesting, a new rule will now be added." Just hearing the system announcement made Lo-hun visibly worried. It's the system. What is it planning now? Even Von Koi couldn't hide his unease. He whispered, "I have the bad feeling about this." The system clearly stated there were 60 minutes left to end the game's startup phase and begin faction selection. Players can choose to join the opposing player faction. Von Koi looked up and wondered, free choice? The system specifies that at most only 1/10 of humanity can become allies of the player faction, and if registrations exceed that selection will be based on rankings prioritizing those with higher scores. Those who want to join the players should make the most of the last moments to increase their scores. Friendly reminder. Not only killing monsters and gathering supplies earn points, but after killing NPCs you can also receive 50% of the target's current score. Reading this, Von Koi immediately felt uneasy. He gasped inwardly, "Damn it, killing NPCs counts for points too." This rule is nothing but openly forcing people to massacre each other. That means many will kill even their teammates just to join the player faction. Trust and order among humans will collapse in the blink of an eye. Von Koi glanced at Lo-hun and said, "Lo-hun, did you hear that?" Suddenly, Lo-hun showed strange changes. Her whole body glowed and trembled. Von Koi shouted loudly, "Lo-hun!" Lo-hun's eyes suddenly widened as a beam of light appeared before her. Lo-hun was suddenly teleported to a strange place. She looked around confused, not understanding a thing. "Where is this? Where am I?" Lo-hun was involuntarily transported into a place where a figure stood. She stood in the center with a large winged altar in front and a glowing crystal suspended high in the middle. Lo-hun walked over while calling loudly, Von Koi, where are you?" Suddenly, a giant hand descended and stroked Lo-hun's head. The figure said, Finally, you have arrived. Appearing suddenly before Lohan was a goddess with large wings glowing brightly as she flew over. This person approached and sent a voice to Lohan that she could hear clearly, the successor of the light. Upon seeing the woman, Lohan was terrified, activating her defense mode and stepping back. Who are you? The woman shone brilliantly, smiling kindly, and said, I am the incarnation of the light, the most mysterious existence in the Apocalypse game. Within your body, you possess the most essential power of light, which is why I answered your summon and came here. Accordingly, Lohan's entire body glowed. Suddenly, many rays of light surrounded her and radiated like a lamp. Lohan looked at herself in bewilderment and said, The power of light. The woman continued, extending her hand forward, slowly closing her eyes and saying, Join the player faction. Join the light temple, that is the only way. Hearing this, Lohan was startled, opening her eyes wide and looking at the woman spreading her hands out, releasing a strong radiance onto Lohan. She continued, Only then can you become the king of light, leading the light to fight against darkness. Standing before Lohan, this holy woman bestowed upon her a new power. Lohan looked at her hand and wondered, Leading the light against darkness means I can save Lam Tin. With my abilities, can I really do it? Lohan hesitated a bit, but wouldn't joining the player faction mean betraying my own trust? The woman spoke directly into Lohan's subconscious. Where there is light, there will be darkness, but hiding in the shadows with the seed of light sent to the world, that is the responsibility of the King of Light. But are you willing to bear this responsibility for the people you care about? Lohan raised her head, her eyes wide as she looked at the goddess, then stammered, I... Suddenly, Lohan woke up, gasping wide-eyed. She was now in the car with Van Koy. Van Koy was driving and immediately asked, Lohan, are you okay? Did you hear what I said? Lohan, startled, turned to call Van Koy. What did you see? She answered calmly, Yeah, what happened to you just now? Lohan, if my existence is discovered by anyone, the path of light will be destroyed by this game. Remember to join the Radiant Temple. Your choice affects the survival of all Lam Tin. She wanted to tell Van Koy, but changed her mind, looking ahead and saying casually, It's nothing, I was just scammed a little bit. So Lohan shyly turned away. Right, the system did say you can join the player faction. Van Koy slammed on the brakes hard, stopping suddenly on the highway. The car skidded loudly, smoke and dust flying everywhere. Yes, Van Koy's face immediately turned pale. Lohan, do you want to join the player faction? Lohan shouted quickly. How could I? They destroyed my family, killed my parents. Even if I die, I won't surrender to the enemy. Then her eyes looked away and she said, But again she remembered that woman who had just appeared in her mind was not an ordinary person. Compared to humans, she seemed more like a god. Were her words really true or false after all? Lohan looked outside, then shyly whispered, Van Koy, have you thought about joining the players? She thought to herself, if it were Van Koy, what would he choose? Yes. Van Koy thought for a while, then looked far away and answered directly, no. Lohan turned to argue, but maybe joining the players could offer protection. In this post-apocalyptic world, no one knows what they will face. Can we survive amidst countless monsters? Yes, Van Koy smiled lightly. Who knows? Humans always like to decorate the path they have never taken. Staying with humanity might be a choice. After all, players can slaughter NPCs at will. In their eyes, we are probably no different from those monsters. Lohan was startled hearing this. She turned to look at Van Koy. Van Koy continued driving with a focused look, then said, But no matter what, once I choose the path opposite the players, I will never regret it and will keep going to the end. Lohan said, Even knowing the other side cannot be defeated, and persistence only leads to death. Van Koy asked determinedly, In this world, there are always people who, even knowing it's impossible, will still charge forward without hesitation. Isn't that how it is? Lohan was stunned, knowing it's impossible but still moving forward without hesitation. She pressed her lips and told herself. Van Koy said exactly, someone has to take this path. Once chosen, there should be no regrets. After the dream, Lohan cautiously looked down and questioned herself with his strength. If I wasn't holding him back, he'd definitely shine even brighter among humanity. As for me, if I can save their faith, no matter how hard it is, I have to try once. On the vehicle where Van Koy was carrying Lohan, she said, Van Koy, I've decided to join the players. Van Koy seemed to have guessed he didn't resist much, but sighed deeply. He looked outside and thought silently, if there were a peaceful path, who would willingly live on the edge? Lohan's choice was only natural. Yes. Van Koy stopped the vehicle. He handed over to her his favorite steed standing next to the big black one. Von Koy said to her, "Take enough water and food with you. This vehicle still has enough energy to take you back to the farm and wait for the players to appear." Lohun looked at Von Koy and called out sincerely, "Von Koy." Von Koy decisively gave the helmet to Lohun. "All right, don't act like it's a deadly farewell. It's not like we won't meet again." Von Koy put the helmet on Lohun and leaned close. "Who knows, maybe one day I'll become the final boss of this world, and then you, a holy mage, will come to defeat me." Lohun looked at Von Koy without saying anything else. Actually, she wasn't allowed to speak. Lohun, hiding many feelings inside, hugged Von Koy tightly. He was startled by the sudden hug from her. Lohun's tears welled up. She tried to lean against him and said, "Even though I've chosen a different path, Von Koy, remember this. I will never be your enemy." Yes, Von Koy hugged Lohun back. He didn't say anything, just smiled gently and nodded in agreement. Von Koy stroked Lohun's head and said softly, "Almost 30 years old and still acting like a child making promises. Isn't that a bit immature?" he thought silently. Lohun is a kind person who won't harm him intentionally, but there's a good saying, if not on the same path, then not of the same mind. Now he looked straight at her gently. "Let's go, the players will be here soon." So Lohun climbed onto Von Koy's cool steed. She revved the engine and headed straight to the farm. Von Koy watched and said didn't expect in the end it's still the big black one by my side. The dog sat next to Von Koy and barked once. So now Von Koy was alone on the deserted road. He looked up. Now all that's left is to wait for the game to start. The system board displayed the remaining time as 39 minutes and 27 seconds. Lohun was still rushing back to the farm at this time. The system announced there were 12 minutes and 58 seconds left in the batch. Von Koy was also on his way to find his parents. Then there were 4 minutes, 86 seconds, 2 minutes, 31 seconds left, and the appointed time had come. The system announced time was up. The apocalypse game officially began. Players entered. After parting from Lohun, he continued to his parents while Lohun returned to the farm. On the speeding vehicle, the system flashed and noticed the apocalypse game officially began. The player entered the arena. Von Koy's car was in autopilot mode. He was studying his system files. So many new rules. No wonder they said earlier the game hadn't officially started, so it was hard to analyze the data. Let me see what these rules actually are. The batch systems announced the game's warm-up time was over. All NPCs would be ranked and classified based on current scores. NPCs in the top 1% of the score leaderboard would receive the leader rank suffix. Levels would be adjusted according to the average level of the top 10% of players. Then add 2 levels. An NPC in the top 5 of the score leaderboard would receive the rank suffix trustee. Speed would be adjusted to the average of players outside the top 30%, then add 100. Remaining NPCs would receive the rank suffix elite common or gifted, depending on their final displayed score. A range clearly showing leader 1%, deputy 1% to 5%, elite 5% to 30%, common 30% to 50%, and novice 50% to 100%. After reading this, Von Koy held it and said his score should be enough to get a leader rank suffix. Just don't know if there's a way to actively level up. Another system notification said only players could gain experience and level up by completing tasks in the game. NPCs don't have this function. Reading this, Von Koy felt disappointed. NPCs don't get experience points, so our level is entirely determined by suffixes. It can only increase with the general level rise of players. Truly a tool from head to toe. After classification and ranking, the system announced scores would automatically convert into Zhongjang Apocalypse currency at a rate of 10 to 1. So Von Koy clicked on his personal attributes. Luckily, during the warm-up phase, he had earned enough points. The system showed 2 consecutive notifications. Congratulations on receiving the leader rank NPC suffix. All attributes increased by 25%. With this suffix level automatically adjusts to the average level of players in the top 10% plus 2 levels. The system clearly displayed for Von Koy NPC leader rank. Title Peerless. Profession Death Knight level 12. Strength 52. Agility 67. Spirit 54. Constitution 54. Matches top 10% personal talent. Try 2 dimension. Effect points multiplied by 10. Current auto-cancelled. No specific designated value. Unique profession. Specialization. Death Shadow level 1. Skill owned Phantom Resurrection. Reading this, Von Koy nodded. With the highest leader rank suffix in hand, while other players just entering the game were only level 1 newbies. I'm already a level 12 boss now. Such a high level wouldn't defeating players be as easy as flipping a hand. A system showed the world map had been partially opened. 600 newbie maps planned. Players reaching level 10 could leave the village. All NPCs and monsters not in the newbie rank forcibly downgrade if entering the village. Reading this, Von Koy sighed. It's just a pity all players were still stuck in the newbie village. The system appeared again and informed him the primal energy system has been activated. All professions can use primal energy control to perform supernatural level skills. Von Koy was surprised. Primal energy. What is that? Is this a new type of energy in the game? A custom primordial energy thyroid system has been activated. All current players and NPCs can now summon their own battle armor. The defense and durability of the armor scale proportionally with personal physical strength. When not wearing armor, body strength is only 20% of the armor's power. All creatures not powered by primordial energy have reduced strength, including but not limited to ranged weapons and combat machinery. Reading this, Van Koy folded his arms. His expression was somewhat annoyed. This new regulation essentially weakens existing combat resources to force humanity on Lam Tin to depend on primordial energy. Players clearly understand the reason better than us, so they will quickly dominate the leading position. Immediately after Van Koy rushed off, the internal system displayed messages from forum members. One person named Vuong Tu said this whole world is really fake. The human alliance is serious. I also saw an account with the nickname Goddess. I can only say I respect personal choices. Account Lao Fu spoke up. Respect. Respect my ass. This is a betrayal of all Lam Tin humanity. I Lao Fu am the first to openly oppose. Inside the car, Van Koy read all the comments from these people. He said, why are there suddenly so many new messages? Of course. Who betrayed Lam Tin? The system shows a message from someone named Chi Kwa exactly. We ordinary people are standing against the Lam Tin leadership. The fake leader of the Alliance, Vu Van Tan, has chosen to side with the players. He even leads forces to confront war god Phuong Nga in the Middle East. This person named Chi Kwa continued, therefore the Alliance must provide us an explanation. Yes, Van Koy was shocked here. What? Those two great figures actually fought in the Middle East. Hastily opening the system, he quickly performed some operations while murmuring, Vu Van Tan's move probably made the situation in the Middle East even more chaotic. Instead of focusing on the fights in the World Channel, it's better to quickly check the updates to see what cards I still have in hand. System notification. Congratulations to the anonymous NPC at the top of the leaderboard for earning the unique title, Absolute. Supreme Level 10. The title owner receives a 25% boost to all attributes. Unlocks all normal interactions with NPCs. Grants the right to use the unique divine treasure. Can issue one fully player-completed quest per day. Gain an additional 25% experience and 25% daily utility. System notice addendum. Each time the owner levels up by 10 levels, the title's bonus increases by 25%. The highest titles can be upgraded to level 9. Yes, after reading, Van Koy was more excited. Only one title. Having this title means that although I and others have the same leader level suffix, I get 25% to all attributes. Plus, the Shadow Knight already has advantages in 3 main attributes. At this moment, he focused his energy in his palm. Each time he levels up, his base attributes are boosted tremendously. No wonder everyone wants to be the boss. Owning such overwhelming strength on the leaderboard feels amazing. He paid attention to part of the Absolute title's Divine Treasure Weapon content. But what exactly is this Divine Treasure Weapon? The car stopped without warning. The autopilot detected an obstacle. Van Koy noticed the system but ignored it. When the car stopped, he suddenly looked up. Huh? What's going on? Right in front of Van Koy, 4 men were blocking the path in a passageway. They even drove a large truck out to block the way more securely. A man in front held a stick and pointed, "Kid, get out of the car now." Yes. Van Koy got out of the car with the dog following him. He looked at everyone and thought, they're wearing custom armor, not bad. The welfare system shouldn't go to waste. The system displayed a notification, first time creating battle armor building model. Immediately, Van Koy's people transformed. His whole body seemed fitted with a new layer of clothing. He whispered, I'll create a set of battle armor for myself too. The system notified, modeling complete armor equipped. Van Koy was now fully equipped with a pretty awesome suit of armor. It looked impressive and sturdy. Plus, it enhanced the main character's handsomeness and coolness. He now looked extremely good in the battle armor. His eyes were filled with deadly intent as he glared at the 3 guys in front, growling. These 3 hadn't yet realized the unforeseen trouble coming their way. They saw the main character's new state and pointed mocking, wearing such heavy armor, this kid probably can't even run. Big bro, do you think this guy's really lost his mind? The big bro holding a bat in front replied, "Ignore him, just take his vehicle, and throw this kid to those iron things to eat." Van Coy in his armor exuded a strong aura and said, "You're robbers and killers, aren't you afraid of punishment?" They still laughed, pressing the baseball bat hard against the ground, and said, "Ha ha, punishment. You're really stupid. The Alliance mayor already ran away, who's left to punish us now?" An unreasonable guy pointed the baseball bat straight at Van Coy and said, "Now whoever has the bigger fist has the right to speak." He looked much more confident and shouted, "The weak are destined to be trampled under the strong." Before he could finish, Van Coy's not-so-round fist was already flying close to his mouth. He punched him right in the face. This caused the guy's helmet to almost crack. Just one hit from Van Coy, and the helmet was crushed on the spot. He was kicked into the truck right behind him. The baseball bat slipped from his hand. Just one strike from Van Coy, and this guy was knocked down like iron. His face was bright red, bleeding from several cuts. The other three looked at their big bro in fear and shouted, "Big bro! Big bro!" The blonde in front turned around and said, "You brat, how dare you make a move?" Van Coy, in his battle armor and quite annoyed with these punks, said, "Didn't you yourselves say the weak get swallowed, the strong become kings? The strong are the ones who carry out punishment." The system announced, "Destroyed a level 8 normal unit, you earned technology points." Van Coy was quite surprised and asked, "What are technology points for?" Right in front of Van Coy, the system showed him a clearer vision. It clearly listed divine weapon treasures, exclusive treasures for those holding the peerless first-tier title. Talent upgrade weapon. Durability, upgraded to epic purple level. It can also zoom at the nano level. The unlock requirement is over 30. Van Coy thought, specialized weapon treasure. Compared to increasing attributes and privileges with NPCs, this is the biggest benefit the Apocalypse title offers. Grasping the top, Van Coy smiled smugly, thinking to himself, it requires technology points to unlock. For now, no other in-game stats can modify talents as strongly as the Chi 2 dimension. Chi-Bang also uses it to increase technology points first. He immediately activated the Chi 2 dimension. Accordingly, Van Coy's whole body erupted with a terrifying magical power. He charged forward like a nightmare at an incredible speed. System notification, adjustment successful. In the future, technology points obtained from divine weapon treasures will increase tenfold from the original amount. These guys were still trying. Both of the two in front rushed forward simultaneously to kill this brat to avenge their big brother. Exactly. Meanwhile, Van Coy remained calm. He also charged forward while saying, "It's a waste not to take the available points." But this time, Van Coy unleashed his big black dog. As these two rushed forward, they saw the mad dog enter the battle. It jumped high and opened its mouth wide, showing 2 pairs of long fangs. They were startled and lost momentum as Van Coy's big black dog leapt onto the red-haired guy. It bit his neck and red blood sprayed out like a volcano. The blonde guy saw this and almost fainted. His face turned pale green, sweating profusely. "Damn it can tear through armor. How can a dog be this strong?" Van Coy, surrounded by a magical power aura, praised the dog. "Well done, Big Black." He whispered, "Reborn spirits are the same level as their owner and get an extra 5% to all attributes." In other words, Big Black is a level 12 elite battle authority. Even when released in the wild, it's enough to dominate an area. Meanwhile, there was still one guy behind. He watched as Van Coy's big black dog tried to snatch the fresh meat from his teammate. Terrified, he tried to run away, but Van Coy's sword blocked his path. With one thrust, Van Coy pierced through the container truck's wooden post. Van Coy stood close to the fleeing guy. The man buried his face in Van Coy's large blade, trembling. Van Coy said fiercely, "Why are you in such a hurry? Stay and play a little longer." Under the beautiful sunlight with clouds drifting slowly, the echoes of the man's screams could be heard. Ah! System notification appeared. Eliminated 3 normal-level units you received, 30 technology points, tenfold divine weapon treasure. Van Coy stood before the bodies he just defeated. He looked down and said, "Not a bad haul, now I can almost unlock the treasure feature." Suddenly, a stranger smiled lightly and said, "Even as an NPC, you're pretty strong." Hearing the stranger's voice, Van Coy turned to look. It was a woman sitting on his pickup truck. In front of her were 2 bodies, 2 men lying there in pain. Van Coy didn't know where this woman had come from. She had a perfect figure with fully toned muscles. The girl sat on his truck very naturally. Van Coy turned to ask who she was. He thought silently that this woman appeared quietly, and even his big black dog hadn't noticed her presence. Hearing Van Koy speak, she jumped down decisively. Then she automatically opened her coat and raised her hand high. "Don't worry, I'm Kwang Teodoa, a player. This girl's name is Kwang Teodoa, 19 years old. Kwang Teodoa is beautiful, fair-skinned, and came up to Van Koy on her own." He looked at her thoughtfully and suspiciously, but facing Van Koy, the girl smiled and asked, "You're Van Koy, right?" Immediately, she raised her hand and summoned a cube-shaped object. She calmly said, "Someone from the player faction assigned me a mission to bring this to you." Suddenly, her eyes widened and she emphasized, "conveniently." The cube flew straight towards Van Koy. She kicked it with force and shouted, "Sending you off for a bit." Van Koy was hit directly by the kick. He quickly dodged to avoid serious pain. Looking ahead, the light radiating from Kwang Teodoa, he thought, could that light be a player skill? At this moment, Van Koy dashed forward at the speed of light. He flew up firmly, holding the sword in his hand, attacking Miss Kwang Teodoa. She suddenly noticed Van Koy and was startled. So she quickly used her two swords to block Van Koy's slash. He pressed the sword tip firmly against the girl's chest armor. At this moment, Van Koy seemed to sense that this woman was not easy to deal with. She took advantage of Van Koy's distraction and jumped back, shouting loudly, "What are you doing? Since when do NPCs get attacked so violently?" At the same time, behind Van Koy, his big black dog also quickly flew up to attack Kwang Teodoa. It didn't need orders from its owner because it saw its owner being attacked. But as it approached, its face was stopped by Teodoa's foot. She flipped beautifully and successfully kicked away his unlucky zombie dog. Van Koy observed her fighting style and thought silently, "Her speed is too fast. I'm already level 12 with all 76 points invested in agility, yet she still blocked me. Plus, she even kicked away my big black dog. Looks like I have to take this seriously." Right after Kwang Teodoa stomped hard on the ground. She firmly held her two swords and shouted forward, "Wait, if you want to fight, at least explain why first. Why attack out of nowhere?" "Yes," Van Koy responded to her. "Weren't you the one who struck first? Your whole body glowed just now, clearly trying to use a skill to ambush me." Kwang Teodoa was startled, but acted as if she didn't understand. She replied, "Ambush, what are you delusional? That glow is just from me completing a quest and getting experience points." She was annoyed and shouted over to Van Koy, "The player faction sent me a bunch of supplies to deliver to you. If I were trying to ambush you, why would I bring you all this stuff?" Even Van Koy's big black dog was confused. It looked at the supply box she brought to him. "Yes." Van Koy looked at the box and thought silently, "That's right. This package is almost all medicine and food." He looked inside and smiled quietly, realizing the quest was issued by the player faction. They even knew his exact location. Could it be Lohan looks like she's still okay for now? At least no need to worry about her safety anymore. Yes, Van Koy felt this girl wouldn't harm him. He put away his weapon and stopped guarding. He slowly stepped closer and asked her, "What do you mean the quest was issued?" She also put away her weapons and replied, "Don't you know? This is a special skill exclusively for NPCs like you. The higher the NPC's suffix, the bigger the experience rewards from their quests." Then Kwang Teodoa winked at him. "The person who sent me the supplies also issued a second quest requiring me to escort you safely to the next city. Completing the quest will earn you 20 Apocalypse coins. Because of the Apocalypse coins, I will definitely protect you well." Yes, Van Koy heard this, but didn't care at all and just walked away. He also told his dog, "No need to come to Ahak, let's go." Hearing this, Kwang Teodoa looked visibly disappointed. She hurriedly ran after Van Koy's vehicle. "Aren't you taking me with you? I'm strong. One sword can take down a small monster." Van Koy still firmly refused the beauty. "Sorry, I'm an NPC with no interest in accompanying players." After saying that, he revved the engine and drove away coldly. Yes, Van Koy drove the car out to the suburbs. Kwang Teodoa couldn't complete the quest and also got a load of criticism from Van Koy, making her so angry she could steam, "Hey, if you don't take me along, how am I supposed to complete the quest?" Yes, as Van Koy left, he looked at Kwang Teodoa's figure in the rearview mirror. He thought silently, "This girl may be strong, but after all, she's still a player. To her, at most, I'm just considered a high-level little monster. Keeping such a dangerous element nearby, who knows, one day I might get stabbed in the back. Besides, having her with us is also not reassuring." Discover the function of the divine weapon treasure. At this moment mentioning it, Van Koy immediately opened the system. He could unlock the first level of the divine weapon talent tree. "Do you want to unlock it?" Van Koy clicked yes. He said, "Just 2 tech points are enough for me to check what this treasure is actually useful for." The system immediately opened. The talent tree was activated. This time it cost 30 tech points. Another system patch added. All weapons will have their durability upgraded to S level 3 and can be transmitted and received at the nano level. Van Koy then turned around. He was surprised to see his weapon transform. It shone sparklingly with many sources of aura surrounding it. Van Koy looked at his sword, then picked it up and exclaimed, "Awesome!" Then the durability was upgraded to the highest level. Now I don't have to worry about my weapon breaking easily, but it's also too magnificent. Luckily, Kwang Teodoa didn't see it just now, just as he thought that Van Koy suddenly turned around. What the hell? He thought the girl had given up. But unexpectedly, where did she find a bike to ride? According to Van Koy, at rocket speed, she was pedaling hard while shouting, "Theo, because today Miss Matnyate will stick with you until the end. Van Koy, don't escape from me, yes." Van Koy turned and saw the thick-skinned face of this girl chasing after Theo. He also turned pale in fear. How did she catch up so fast? Just on a rickety bicycle, too. At this moment, the girl had caught up to Van Koy's car. He turned his face away and thought to himself, "Just let it go, pretend she doesn't exist." Kwang Teodoa enthusiastically shouted through the window. "Van Koy, can you hear what I'm saying?" On the system board, a pinned notification appeared. Lai Din is live streaming the scene of player Dang Lam at Tan Thu Mon. The live stream currently has reached 13,574 viewers. The system has pinned this post for you. You can click the link to join the live stream room. Yes. After reading it, Van Koy wondered to himself, what kind of live stream is this? How could there be such a high number of viewers? After clicking to watch, Van Koy was astonished and stared wide-eyed. On the screen, many civilians were being hunted down by a terrifying force. They were trying to flee and screaming. There were also women and children. A man was crying out desperately. "Run quickly! They're coming!" Van Koy looked at the scene, unable to hide his horror. He leaned back and muttered, "Could it really be like this?" Looking at the group chasing these civilians, Van Koy saw they were armed. Everyone was fierce and had strength beyond normal people. One of them approached the live stream section of the system. His face was dark and truly frightening. He smiled with murderous intent. Even Van Koy was horrified and exclaimed, "Could that really be a player?"